Hello. Hi. Hmm. I don't know why OBS reset my mic input to default, and I also don't know why default isn't the only microphone I have connected, but oh well. Hey everyone, good to see you. How's it hanging, folks? I actually found out I have work late today, so we can go for the normal time. And everyone say hello to Nightbot. I said I would have it enabled, and there it is. It's very bare bones at the moment. It has. Did you ever find out why Helldivers reduced your mic volume? I think it's just something to do with how Steam handles the integrated mic, but no. The short answer is no. No. I've got like ideas, but no clue nor solution. Either way, hello everyone. Yeah, we have a Nightbot. It's pretty bare bones. It has 4 timed messages that it sends on a 15-minute interval, which I think should be fine. We have an active enough chat that should be good to go. And it has 2 commands, well, technically 3. It has exclamation point commands, and it has exclamation point Discord and exclamation point YouTube. So, we finally have Nightbot. I definitely didn't set it up 10 minutes ago. Thank you, Doot, for the tier 1 sub. Greatly appreciated. Hope you're having a good time. Definitely not. No, of course. I'm a very proactive, collected, careful streamer. So obviously I would have done this yesterday when I had literally no obligations or responsibilities and nothing to do whatsoever. Right? Obviously. So that's what I did. Anyway, yesterday I finished Bloodborne. And overall, I talked about it on Discord, but overall, I enjoyed it. It was a good game. I'm already planning on replaying it. I started a New Game Plus playthrough just a bit to see what we're dealing with there, but generally speaking, I had a good time with it. The bosses were, I would say, a considerable low point for almost the entire playthrough. There were some exceptions, most of them in the DLC. The DLC bosses across the board were generally of higher quality than the base game bosses. But, you know, overall, they weren't really much to write home about. The problem with bosses in Bloodborne is they come in 2 flavors, which is agile humanoid and rampaging beast. Alright? And the agile humanoids, if they're too agile, are not fun to fight because they're just dodging around at all times. It's hard to hit them, especially if you're using a weapon that doesn't have all that great of range. It feels like they're just get to do whatever the hell they want. However, they're generally susceptible to being staggered, which means that if you have a weapon that does decent enough stagger damage, you can just stagger them back to back to back and not really have to care if you catch them in a pretty good loop at some point. Howdy, Doomsquire. Good to see you. And then rampaging beasts are generally not very evasive. They're just fucking massive, and their attacks generally consist of just sort of flailing in your general direction with extremely large, wide, unpredictable, very bad hitboxes. And the strategy for beating them is to just stay behind them And that's about it. You stay behind them and you just wail on them until they stop moving. What about agile humanoids that turn into rampaging beasts? Those are generally the best bosses in the game. Because you get a little bit of variety, and because they're doing a bit of both, they're not going all in on either, which means they don't suffer from the negatives of either most of the time. Most of the time, I'll say. Replaying the game, Father Gascoigne so far, Father Guacamole, I've seen some call him. Probably one of the best bosses in the game, I think. A really good introduction to what I think, or rather what a wish bosses could have been, with his slightly agile, mostly aggressive first phase where he's a humanoid hunter. He has the same tool set as you, and so his attacks are generally very intuitive. You kind of understand what he's going with, what he's coming at you with, and it's not too overwhelming. And then, I think it's like 30% health. He transforms into a giant werewolf and becomes the rampaging beast archetype, which you don't have to deal with for too long because he does it when he's on very low health. And he's also generally smaller and doesn't have like as wide of limbs as some of the larger beast enemies in the game, so he's a lot more manageable. You can still stagger him pretty effectively. His attacks are pretty well telegraphed. They've got a good flow to them. Genuinely, one of the more enjoyable bosses to fight in the game that feels like it gets you into that sort of aggression mindset that I think the bosses try to get you in. I have a lot of mechanical problems with Bloodborne that stop that mindset from ever really feeling comfortable for almost the entirety of the game, but every once in a while a boss will come along and that boss will fucking nail it. Another good boss that I think does that really well is Orphan of Cause, which, he starts out like smaller, more agile, more humanoid, and then second phase he gets bigger, closer to a rampaging beast, wider swing, stuff like that. My favorite bosses in the game tend to be ones that start agile and then turn into a rampaging beast, because it gives a nice contrast to the fight, gives a nice flow to the fight, and I don't know if it's just coincidence, but they generally tend to be the more enjoyable fights. I think because it starts out slow and agile, you get to sort of ease your way into that aggressive mindset, so that whenever the boss is on lower health, you're sort of already primed to be like, okay, he's halfway dead, let me just go fucking crazy with him, and we're gonna burst each other down, and whoever's left standing at the end of this fight, that's who wins. So, there are a couple standout bosses. The two that are coming, there's 3 that are coming to mind, which is Father Gascoigne, Orphan of Cause, and surprisingly, Lady Maria was a very fun fight. She is full agile hunter for the entirety of the fight, but for her second and then I guess technically third phases, she gets access to these like heavily telegraphed but really damaging wide sweeping attacks that really slow the pace down and force you to lock in for a second. The only downside with Lady Maria, and well, I guess all of the bosses that are rampaging beasts, is that they're extremely susceptible to parrying. Which means that if you know how to properly parry, or even if you're just halfway decent at it, it's very easy to just annihilate most bosses by spamming it. Which is, I don't generally love that, but I don't hate it either, personally. It feels cool to do, and that goes a long way. A lot of what Bloodborne does right, generally, has to do with a lot of that game feel at times. But sometimes, whenever the game feel is interrupted, that's when it feels worst. Overall, I kind of wish that the game had been more experimental and been like, well, I want to say that I wish it had been like Sekiro, but obviously it's hard to make comparisons to other Souls-likes because whenever Bloodborne came out, uh, it was one of the relatively early entries in the Souls-like genre. I mean, it was Dark Souls 1, then Dark Souls 2, then Bloodborne, right? They were still figuring a lot of stuff out, but Dark Souls 2 was extremely experimental. I would go so far as to say that I think Dark Souls 2 experiments more with the format in some ways than Bloodborne does. Or maybe it just feels more experimental because it doesn't feel like it's held back by a lot of those base mechanics, and the places where they do change it feel like they stand out more. I'm not really sure. Bloodborne to me feels like it has a lot of very good ideas that are held back by the reliance on the RPG systems which are core to FromSoft's design principles. I don't really think that the leveling system in Bloodborne is of any particular benefit to the game whatsoever. More than anything, I felt restricted by leveling than I felt empowered by it. I never hit a level threshold for really anything except maybe vitality and thought, oh, this is a boost to my power. It always felt like I was hitting stat thresholds to be able to use more options or even experiment at all. And I think experimentation, I'm noticing coming out of Dark Souls 2 and coming out of Bloodborne, is one of the things that I value very, very highly in a FromSoft game. It's part of why Lies of P is my favorite FromSoft game of all time, because of how the weapon system in that game functions, and the fact that none of the weapons in the game have stat requirements in order to use them. I like being able to, on a whim, switch up what I'm doing, try out new things, see what feels right, and then specialize heavier in that direction if I like how it feels. I also like, in Lies of P, that respecking is extremely easy and available to you relatively early in the game. Unlike Bloodborne, which these aren't, let me just state full out, these are not fair comparisons, alright? Lies of P and Bloodborne are nearly a decade apart from one another. Lies of P is learning from FromSoft's entire catalog. Bloodborne is one of the formative pillars of FromSoft's catalog, right? This is not a fair comparison. However, it's the comparison that I'm coming into the game with because I played Lies of P first. And generally speaking, I think that everything Bloodborne tries to do, aside from maybe the aesthetics and tone, Lies of P does way better. Interesting because you also really enjoy Sekiro, which I see as possibly even more restrictive. That's the thing. I'm gonna have to replay Sekiro now because I remember playing it and disliking the level of restriction in the beginning, but the further you get into the game, the more you realize that it's not designed in such a way that that playstyle is restrictive. Because you only have one universal playstyle that they build around and there's no stat requirements and anything like that, they're able to really hone in on making this one moveset feel really fucking good to use. And you get a bunch of extra stuff with the Shinobi prosthetics on top of that that add that variety and that augmentation that you might be looking for. But generally speaking, you're not looking for that variety because they've already given you a diverse moveset that is upgraded throughout the game, and the variety comes from the enemies. In FromSoft's other games, because you don't have as many interesting or dynamic defensive options, a lot of the variety has to come from the player and how they choose to respond, and how they choose to engage with an enemy. Whereas their actual engagement with an enemy on a purely mechanical level is usually limited to just figuring out the dodge timings and then doing that effectively, right? Bloodborne will never beat the stat stick allegations. Yeah, that's probably one of my biggest complaints with Bloodborne is I wanted to experiment. my entire playthrough. I wanted to experiment with stuff. Every time I got a new trick weapon, the first thing I did was go back to the hub, equip it, see what it looked like, check it out, look at all the little bits and baubles, and I would have loved to take that weapon and actually go out into the world and try it out in combat, but there were two problems that got in the way of that. One is the prohibitively expensive upgrade materials in the game. It's very, very difficult, especially in the mid to late game, to have a weapon that is viable for you to use if you have not upgraded it at least 6 times. Right? Which is very annoying because everything past the first set of upgrade materials costs insight, which is not a very easy resource to come by. So generally speaking, it felt like I wasn't really encouraged to experiment in terms of being able to actually try out viable weapons out in the field. The other problem that I had with experimentation was stat requirements for weapons. And I understand why they exist. I do not think it's a good enough reason. They exist mostly as a holdover of From's previous game design sensibilities. I don't know why it's sending those at the same time. Do I need to set them up at like 20, 40, 60 intervals maybe? That's probably it. That might be why they sent at the same time. Oh well. Oh yeah, yep, okay. So since they're all set to a 15-minute interval, they all fired at the same time. Gotcha. Okay, so I'll have to go in the settings. I think I'll be able to do that right now and set them to a 15, 30, 45, and 60-minute interval. Okay. We will set this one to send every 45 minutes. We'll set... Well, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Because that means that some of them are just going to fire more frequently and then others infrequently. You can't make them multiples of each other, otherwise they'll align. Yeah. I'll figure it out. For now, we don't really need the interval ones. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn off the backseat and rules reminder ones, and I'm going to set the Discord and YouTube timers to every 30 minutes. Because every 30 minutes is fine for, you know, if we want to link the channels. That doesn't seem like it's too much clutter. Wanted to ask about game requests. What is the policy on endless games like Uma Musume? I would say, generally speaking, it would be, how could I phrase it? I would probably just be like doing a stream or two of the game until it felt like, you know, I had gotten the full experience of the game. Although I will say, stuff like gacha games are a full send veto across the board. I just have no interest in gacha games whatsoever. I don't want to play anything that has the possibility of influencing the spending habits of myself or others in an unhealthy way. Which is maybe a bit more righteous than it actually sounds. But, you know, I just don't like gacha games. Simple as. And I don't know that it would make for... Well, I know that it would make for engaging stream content, but I don't know that it would make for anything that I would be particularly interested in streaming myself. Anyway, like I was saying, it feels like the stat system in Bloodborne is more restrictive than empowering. Because I wanted to always try out new stuff, and that always really got in the way of me being able to do that. But generally speaking, I feel like I just said that. if I could describe Bloodborne in one word, it would be outclassed. And I said this in the Discord as well. I think that everything Bloodborne attempts to do is a mechanic which games that have come after it have done better. Which is not exactly a fair thing to criticize the game on. Because if I had played it on release, what that means is that I would be engaging with a lot of very fresh ideas that are like indicative of great strides and innovations in the genre, right? I would be seeing a lot of stuff that I had never seen before that is working really, really well most of the time. And I wouldn't have any frame of reference to compare that against, so it would probably feel good. But because I've played games that have come after it, like Sekiro, which shows me that FromSoft can focus and specialize and make an experience that does not require those RPG systems while still serving you this very aggressive playstyle and getting you in the correct mindset to adapt to that playstyle. And because I've played Lies of P, which implements a lot of that variance in defense, that implements stuff like the rally mechanic with the guard regain and stuff like that. I've seen the systems that Bloodborne has done better by the games that have learned from it, right? And so when I come back to Bloodborne and I'm playing it for the first time and judging it with those merits, I can't help but feel that it is inferior to games I have played before. But it's inferior to those games because those games are what it learned from. Or rather, those games learned from Bloodborne. They got their ideas from Bloodborne and improved on it. That's the only reason why they're better than Bloodborne, because they're built on Bloodborne's foundation. Right? At the end of the day, though, I don't think a lot of Bloodborne's problems are necessarily its own fault. It has a lot to do with it just feeling clunky and dated and tied to a lot of systems which at the time were just standard for the genre. Right? It's stuck on the PS4 at 30 FPS where it's trying to be a fast-paced action game. And it's dealing with a lot of that input latency, a lot of that iffiness when it comes to reacting to things properly, and just generally some clunkiness in terms of its age. It's showing its age in a lot of ways. But overall, it's still a pretty good time. And I do plan on replaying it. So, overall, good. It's got a lot of rough spots, but it's still enjoyable. I still see what they're going for, and I think more often than not, what they're going for works. Bloodborne is as old as its frame rate. Listen, buddy, it only hits 10 FPS whenever you break a couple boxes, alright? Come on, cut it some slack. It's only sometimes that old. And then on a much lesser front, I've also been begrudgingly having not that bad of a time with Elden Ring. Since I started just sort of mainlining the stuff that I know I actually need and that's more important. But my problem with Elden Ring is one that cannot be solved on replays because it is fundamental to how replaying the game works. When I replay a Souls-like, and replayability is one of the most important aspects of a Souls-like game to me, how replayable it is, how much fun it is to go back through the game on New Game Plus and using a new build, right? Theoretically, Elden Ring is the most replayable game in FromSoft's entire catalog because of the unbelievable wealth of build diversity and options you have available to you, and the great degree of freedom you have when it comes to exploring the world at your will. The problem, though, is that when I replay a FromSoft game or a Souls-like game, I want to use the whole bird. I want to replay the game because I want to do every single thing in that game. I want to go through every single area. I want to fight every single boss. I want to grab all the items. I want to get every Estus upgrade. I want to do the whole game again. And when you replay Elden Ring, after having done the whole game, what you find out, or rather what you know, is that 80% of the game is not worth replaying. And to some people, they might say, cool, so when I replay the game, I know to go to here, 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 here. It's a much more focused experience. I can just get all the good parts, skip all the bad, and I'm having a great time doing it. But for me, that feels like a compromise. Because I want to use the whole bird. I want to play the whole game. And even though 80% of that content is bad, skipping it still feels like I'm skipping significant portions of the game and significant parts of that replay experience. And so, yeah, it does feel nice to go from location to location, only grabbing what you know you want and need. But it also feels really bad to just blast through the open world and skip most of the game and not care about it. It's the same reason why I generally don't like to run through a level when I'm replaying a Souls-like, or whenever I'm getting back to a boss on the first couple of tries. I like going through that level. I like fighting everything. I like perfecting that run back and getting everything right so that I can get to the boss as effectively as possible. And running through it feels like I'm not taking my time with the game. It feels like I'm skipping it. And if I start to skip too much, I wonder why I'm even replaying it to begin with. Right? And so when I replay Elden Ring, I get a lot of that feeling. I get a lot of, well, if I'm going to be skipping 80% of this game, why am I even playing the 20% that's there? Is the 20% really that good? Or should I just be playing something else instead? But right now, I got to Lanedale. Got my build online. Got another talisman pouch. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm in a decent part of the game right now, just before a massive difficulty spike. So, that ought to be fun. But, for now, what will be fun is finishing up this episode. Sorry I've been rambling a lot about Souls-like games. 30 minutes is fucking crazy. I can sure fucking yap, can't I? God damn. Sorry I've been so, like, chatty at the start of streams lately. I know we don't really have a lot of time to work with. I only stream for usually like 4.5 hours. So I don't mean to eat into too much of that. It's just, you know, I like talking with you guys. And I gotta get these thoughts out somewhere, because I'm not gonna make a video essay on it. Or at least I don't plan to. I still got one that I need to, but that's gonna require me to play Destiny 2 Final Shape again. Not really looking forward to that. You just cut all your rants into a video essay? Ooh, good idea. Good idea. Now, what I need to do is start making YouTube shorts, and so I can actually follow through on the "and that's why" bit. Stream of consciousness is pretty chill to tune into. It's interesting to hear the thoughts. So like squeezed into words while still being a tad rough. Interesting. I do like to do it at the beginning of streams so that it feels like I can just get it all out. I get it all out of my system, and we can sort of ease into it as people start to filter in. I turned off the fan so that we would maybe have better mic quality. Turns out, actually, fucking hot today. So you know what? Listen, man. I'm not partnered. All right, I'm not making the big bucks. I'm not fucking XQC over here doing this full time. There's gonna be some background hum. All right, it's that amateur charm. By the way, so you don't have to delete old characters. Destiny 2, all DLC are free to play for 2 weeks. Well, shit. Good to know. We can't even hear it. It's like a very slight hum whenever I'm talking. You'll hear it if you listen to a VOD that doesn't have me talking and then you listen to me talking now. It's a I don't even, maybe it doesn't pick it up. I don't know. I hear it sometimes, and it's slightly annoying, but it's not that annoying. I'd rather hear a little hum than sweat. Well, managed to prove that David didn't kill himself, and in the process, I proved that his android did. I proved that the android that's been walking around with me all day is capable of murder. Kill a robot. True unbound AI with military-grade specs and at least one death to its name already. So much for avoiding the public eye. Thank you for coming here on such short notice, Judge Barrows. Ha! As if I'm doing you some kind of favor. I didn't realize I had any choice in the matter. This isn't some bad joke, is it, Ms. Rockford? I'm afraid not, Your Honor. You know, I like the adjutants. I always have. They deal with the criminal trials so that the bookish, quiet, contemplative people like me can spend all day typing up arguments for obscure legal treatises. That's what I like to do. I don't like coming down here and dealing with all this heavy-handedness. Meanwhile, she's just in the background like, yay, law enforcement! Won't someone toiling away under the police state think of the poor bureaucrats? And I certainly don't like making rulings on anything as spicy as AI. She can barely bring herself to say it. And you, Counselor Morgan? You're the one it's registered to? That's correct, Your Honor. So what did it do exactly? Torture an animal? Shut down a hospital? Crash a coin market? We have it on camera poisoning a man, killing its creator. You mean Dr. Asher? That is... We can't hope to keep this quiet for very long. All we can do is try to wrap it up quickly. Let's make haste. Adjutant, do you have the case number? Case ID is 241277A. Docket number YT9843188282. Oh, thank you. Can you repeat that? YT98431822 or 8282. I think I lost you after the first 8. I have it copied here. And what are the security procedures for an incident of this nature? A data quarantine is to be established around any networks the subject was exposed to for more than 66 seconds. All offending hardware is to be destroyed immediately through incineration at a minimum temperature of 3,422 Celsius for 30 minutes. Sorry, Spearmint. Nothing to be done. No debate to be had. This isn't even a decision. Sorry, Sarah. Not Spearmint. David gave you that name. Should at least make the effort to use it. Sounds very hot. We have furnaces that get that hot? Of course! There are a number of industrial furnaces within the city limits that I could recommend. Sorry? Should I be sorry, anyway? Howdy, Cheezix. I love this game, too. I'm having a really good time with it. I fulfilled the request. Favor repaid. I don't know Sarah anything. Especially not if it killed my friend. Right, Morgan? I'm sorry? I was just saying how grateful I am that we have the procedures for this kind of thing all laid out already. Yes! Keeps things nice and simple. It can feel somewhat severe going through these steps so quickly, but... What? But nothing, Your Honor. Artificial intelligence is perhaps the greatest threat to human civilization and the sanctity of life there's ever been. Any piece of software, big or small, no matter the vessel, if it can violate the tenets it was programmed with, it has the potential to cripple our nation in a matter of moments. Yes, couldn't have said it better myself. Straight from the textbook, almost. Well, I mean it. Monsters like that don't belong in this world. They should never have been born in the first place. Destroying them is a kindness. And if anyone's to blame, it's... No one's blaming you, Counselor. You couldn't have known you were in possession of an AI. Talking too much. Probably just tired. Been a long day. Had a lot of thoughts. Sorry, Sarah. Whatever you are. You were just born wrong. Not your fault, necessarily. If it were up to me, it points for trying. Trying to be something more. Trying to be something at all. Or anything other than what you are. Stupid, of course. And futile. Pointless. Spending hours in front of a TV or laying in bed staring at your phone. Watching stupid movies and trying paper mache an ill-fitted mask of humanity out of the scraps you could tear out of a magazine. practicing expressions and memorizing lines. Try to get something to take root and grow despite knowing you'd have nothing to feed on. Stupid. Morgan? What was that, counselor? I said objection. And what are you objecting to? What are you doing, Morgan? I'm a defense attorney. This is what I do. I understand that you've been through a lot these last few hours, counselor, but there's nothing to defend. On the contrary, Your Honor, I have to defend myself. Pardon? You say that this android Sarah is an AI because it broke its tenants. Obviously. And you believe it broke its tenants because of this newly discovered footage that appears to show it committing murder via poison. All true, and no laws broken on your part. Here it comes. Never thought I'd be incriminating myself in the courtroom just to make a point. Don't you dare try and entrap me on this. Well. Let me just make sure. Said this android Sarah is an AI because it broke its tenants. Can you believe it broke its tenants because of this newly discovered footage? Okay, I think it would have to be the papers, no? Right? It's an AI, broke its tenants, and you believe it broke its tenants because of this newly discovered footage. Gun is irrelevant. No laws broken on your part. The only thing that ties her to Sarah is these papers. Specifically, these papers were found inside the panic room, which means that technically it was hers before she got it then. Which means that it was under her ownership at the time of the murder. Meaning that she is technically legally culpable. I'm going for it. It's pretty simple, actually. If the state is making the claim that Sarah is an AI, they're accusing me of committing a felony. Because I'm the legal owner of that android. The hell are you doing? And if the state wants to charge me with owning an AI, I will not take that lying down. I know my rights. Counselor, your argument is self-defeating. Listen to yourself, Counselor. You claim that Sarah is just an android, a product that will be obsolete within a year. But you've only known it for a few hours. You've only owned it for a matter of minutes. And yet here you are, risking a felony charge to save it from being demolished. Because you're wrong. And I know you wouldn't care. Not unless this android was something special. Look at us. Me arguing that I'm guilty, and Emma arguing that I'm a softie. It'd be funny if it wasn't so fun. You think there's no reason I want to save this android from destruction, other than feelings of personal attachment? Obviously, it's because I'd be fucking loaded! I can think of at least one reason why I don't want you to turn Sarah into slag. One very convincing reason. Or very convincing number. What is that? That number is Sarah's estimated financial value on the collector's market. You've got to be. I got it from an insurance evaluation algorithm. They're designed to lowball you. That does seem like a reasonable incentive for you to want to keep that android intact. It's a free country, Your Honor. I have a right to defend myself. And we have a free market, so I have a responsibility to defend my financial interests. Your Honor, a trial like this would be... I'm not gonna let you turn this courtroom into a circus, Morgan. I don't know, you might not want to look behind you. There's definitely not a ringleader sitting there. You can't spend the next half-decade bringing in expert after expert to testify on the philosophical distinctions between AIs and ads, spiraling into appeal after appeal, all while the media... This machine appears to have willfully killed a man. The public needs answers now. Of course, Your Honor. I have neither the desire nor the resources to get into a drawn-out battle with the state over what constitutes an illegal machine intellect. So... The state says my android, my property, killed a man in violation of its tenets, so they want to take my property and destroy it. I'll prove that my machine didn't harm anyone, so the state will have no reason to suspect it's an AI, and I'll get to keep my property. Unlawful seizure thwarted. Don't be cute. I feel the stomach ulcer coming on. Fine. You'll have your day in court, but it'll be one day tomorrow. Prove that this machine didn't kill Dr. Asher. No, prove that it couldn't have killed him. Anything less than absolute proof, and I'll have the damn thing obliterated. And you'll also be looking at a very real sentencing from the public unrest you'll have enabled. Yes, Your Honor. D.A. Rockford, what I'm asking of you is just as heavy. Find the truth. By the end of tomorrow, we can't settle for anything less. Win or lose, there can be no doubts about the outcome of this case. Yes, Your Honor. And now, I need to go lie down. Can I come? You can power down. He's great. What's her name? Addie? Is that what she goes? Yeah, 80. There it is. She's great. I love her. Melissa Barrows. Superior Judge of the Higher Circuit, likes air conditioning, espresso, reclining chairs, dislikes parking lots, noise pollution, mud, avoids overspending on restaurants, splurges on expensive hotels, relaxes by watching action movies. Interesting. True said, I loved the comparing the lack of emotional connection and psychopathy to the inherent inhumanity of androids and having Morgan end up bonding because of that. It's good. It's very good. It's very, very good. I'll also say, I really like the way that AD is named, because I do the same thing. Every time I get a Raichu in Pokemon, I'll name it Espy, because on my Game Boy Advance SP, I have a Raichu sticker that I've had there since I was a little kid. So I always like the naming convention of taking an abbreviation or an acronym and then just saying it as if it were a word. Very cute. Alright. Morgan. I misjudged you. At what point? Whenever I wrote you off as a small-time defense attorney just trying to tread water. That is so sweet of you to say, Emma. There's layers to you. You got backbone. Teeth, even. You're gonna make me blush. People talk about your kind like you're boxing against the state, fighting the man. Most defense attorneys wouldn't know a cyberpunk if they walked up to him on the street and shot him. Meanwhile, you've just signed up to do 15 rounds challenging the state's authority. Why? Not sure, exactly. David? Yeah, probably. Probably just me being sentimental. But if I had to pick a more lofty reason, well, I think it's all the moralizing. People can be evil. They can choose to do evil things for evil reasons. And if you want to execute them for that, you'll hear no complaint from me. But animals can't be evil. Information can't be evil. Ideas can't be evil. Guess I'm not convinced AI can be evil either. Whatever else I get up to, I don't want to stand with the book burners of the world. I'm more high-minded than I realized. You sure you're in the right line of work? Can't see myself doing anything else. I don't know. I think we do our second job quite well. Good luck, Morgan. There are book burners on all sides these days. Talked a big game just now, but I'm in an even deeper hole than when I was trying to prove David's innocent. Doubt won't be enough this time. I need to find the actual culprit, no matter what. Actually, this is our second job. The first job is very much criminal. No, that's true. That's true. That's true. This is our second profession. Also, what a fucking comeback, baby. What a comeback. The only sad part is that we could probably have broken 100 in this trial easy if I remembered to fucking up the ante on the timeline of events. But what a comeback. 82. Thank you, Nightbot. Thank you. Oh, Nightbot doesn't show up in the OBS chat preview. That's interesting. Precinct 254. Homicide office. Was that door locked? Yeah, of course. Even though they got it collared? It's a precaution. If the collar doesn't work, what good would a deadbolt do? Collar. Collar, police, advise use to restrain mod users below the neck. A restraint designed to impede movement and prohibit the use of mods throughout the body. While collars appear technologically advanced from the outside, designers' concerns about hacking vulnerabilities and the growing complexity of consumer-grade mods led them to opt for a surprisingly simple method of restraint. Collars contain a specially designed electromagnet that, once clasped around the neck, interferes with spinal neural transmission, preventing mod users from sending commands to any implanted tech below the neck. Powerful, simple, and cost-effective, collar use is widespread among law enforcement, military, and private security organizations. With the onset of above-the-neck modding in recent years, the continued relevance of collars as a means of meaningfully inhibiting a wearer's mod usage has been called into question. Newer designs have been proposed that utilize microneedle clusters, but concerns about the sanitary upkeep required for such invasive restraints have stymied product development cycles. Anyway, to circle back on a couple streams ago, this is why I don't think Morgan is evil or meant to be evil necessarily. Not the moralizing discussion, just the game seems very uninterested in portraying Morgan's neurodivergence, psychopathy, I don't know the scientific term, in simple terms like that. Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a more nuanced portrayal. I have a hard time, saying that she's not at least, like, a bad person, because she does just kill people for what appears to be no reason right now, other than she enjoys doing it. But we shall see. It's fiction, so she gets a free pass despite being a literal serial killer, you know? Maybe it's just wishful thinking. Can't have Schrodinger's cat if the box isn't closed. There's our Schrodinger's cat mention of the VN, an absolute necessity. So long as the door's locked, who can say whether there's a national crisis on the other side of it? How scared are they? Higher-ups? Not sure scared is the right word. It's just the two of us here. You don't have to mind their ego. Nah, I mean it. I think they're bloodthirsty. I have a right to defend myself, don't I? I doubt they're even looking at you, Tiger. It's Noble who'll be at the center of a bloodbath when the markets reopen tomorrow. You think they're going to go after Noble? Break their monopoly? I think they want to take their monopoly. Nationalize the Android industry? To transfer industry from private to state control, the act of absorbing a corporation or industry into the nation's government, shifting authority and profit to the state, and restructuring the business model to function as a part of the bureaucracy. Nationalization is a so-called nuclear option for sovereign nations. It is mostly used as a threat, a tool of deterrence against corporate misconduct, monopolies, or corruption. However, during periods of severe economic depression or hyperinflation, nationalization is considered a valid way of forcefully stabilizing the market, even if doing so risks flaming the tempers of those who operate within it. Many governments made liberal use of nationalization during the late 2050s through the 2060s in an effort to keep energy and food prices from fluctuating out of control. The 2070s saw most of those countries reverse course. Industries were opened back up in a free auction model where every citizen was given a share to trade or sell as they pleased. But this contentious process was plagued by accusations of government corruption, cartel intimidation, and disinformation campaigns. The global trend back towards privatization gave rise to a new rich, sometimes derisively referred to as the neo-ability. Though liberal economists have since criticized this period of deregulation as being poorly planned and executed in haste, contributing to the record highs of wealth inequality we see today, leaving many governments loath to attempt nationalization again, and thus shifting the global balance of power further towards multinational corporations. Today, all 5 of the largest national economies in the world retain at least some control of what they each consider their respective countries' key industries, making the threat of nationalization carry marginally more weight within their borders. If the public thinks Noble's been experimenting with AI, they couldn't ask for a better excuse. You're joking. The state has done it plenty of times before. Not since the 60s, which wasn't that long ago for me. The state is practically yesterday. The same state that tells us to be terrified of AI is lurking on the old net or biding their time on forgotten satellites. Sees all this as nothing more than an opportunity. Well, they do genuinely want to incinerate the thing as soon as possible. Past experience just tells me they'll want to gain something while they're at it. Here's what I don't get. Why is this a debate? An argument? A trial? Can't we just hook it up to a court computer, see if it has the tenets or not? Pop the hood, as they say? Who says that? Lots of people used to say it. Well, for starters, they're all scared to death about a contagion. They figure anything they let that AI connect to they can't trust. Why the collar? Collars are too simple to hack. Just a really strong electromagnet held in place with a lock and key. Even so, it feels like we should be able to build some kind of machine, some kind of test. Something a little more sophisticated than the same reasoning they had at the witch trials. Burn them all and let God sort out the rest. You got any polygraphs here at the station? Eye detectors? Yeah, I got a bunch back in storage. Ocular, heart rate, perspiration, brain scan, take your pick. You're not going to try and use one of those on the bot, are you? All those fancy lie detectors lying around. The DA's office never asks for them, do they? Nope. We got perps who offer to take a test when they're at wit's end, but the DAs never submit the results as evidence. You ever wonder why? Guess I always figured it was because the test could be beaten. Tests can be beaten. 1 out of 100, 9 out of 1,000. Be done. Some people are just that good at lying. But it doesn't really matter how good the tech gets, or how impressive the statistics are. All that matters is the doubt. People decide whether you're lying or telling the truth long before they hook you up to a polygraph. If the results don't match their initial impression, then it must be a fluke. A 1 in a million mistake. They'll never trust a machine more than their own intuition. And no one will ever trust a machine to determine guilt. So they can run the trial, choose the sentence, but they don't get to vote on the jury. They don't get to vote anywhere. Why bring it up then? Because I'm sure there are tests, devices, experts I could employ to analyze Sarah, but your bosses would never be satisfied with the answer. If it is an AI, it's smart enough to cheat the test. Or hack the device, fool the expert. All our fancy 21st century tech still fall back on the drumhead court-martial. So, am I going to set off any alarms if I go and turn it on? Nah, you should be okay. Surprising they didn't go for the so-called lie detectors, just detect what the interrogator wants it to line. If it lunges at you, I could always just put a hole in its head. Might take more than one shot. Wait, what? From outside? You're not coming in. I need to speak with it in private. It's a machine, not a suspect. It doesn't have a right to counsel, or a right to privacy. Any rights at all, actually. And it's a good thing I came prepared. Of course it doesn't have rights, but I do. Including a reasonable expectation of privacy. In a police station? Tiger, you don't... It's my medical android. Pardon? I have to discuss a health issue with it. Seriously? I have to talk about a medical concern with my android, and I don't want you listening in. That's your medical android? Like, your nurse? As of last night, I was already at the courthouse. Just had to take the elevator and do some paperwork. You can check if you don't believe me. No, thank you. I'm not nearly brave enough to take on med confidentiality. You don't seem like the bluffing type. I don't know about that one, buddy. You must not do a lot of gambling, detective. It's not the ones who don't bluff that you have to look out for. Or it's the ones who don't bluff that you have to look out for. Listen, I won't dispute whatever medical emergency you... Lower back pain. You might be going through. That's really bright, Jesus. But I also can't just... Look, I'm gonna get something from the vending machine. I think it'll take me about half an hour. Going downtown? Just to the break room, but it's a very old vending machine, you know. Gets jammed a lot. Thanks. You know, it's pretty small for an android. Heavy as hell. Really pulled something trying to move itself. Move it myself. Small. Small isn't quite the right word. The word he's looking for, young. But that's not an adjective anyone likes attaching to a machine built to serve. Or potentially, in this case, a machine built to kill. I'm wondering what's going on here. D003. My current theory is that what is my current theory? My current theory is that I believe Jung poisoned him, and she also poisoned herself. And then purged her system by downing some salt. Probably salt water. Something along the lines, though. That's my guess. Maybe this will get used as evidence to say that it might have been her idea. She knew that he would use the plastic cups because that was their ritual, and so she knew to poison them in advance, or something along those lines, maybe. I don't like this room. Not sure why. So she is Aki. Perhaps, yeah. Certainly not a guilty conscience. Maybe it's the lack of ventilation. Like all the cortisol and nausea of its inhabitants never had anywhere to go. Like it's all just soaked into the walls. Modern haunting. Are you gonna wake up when I tell you this? When I tell you to this time? Or do we have to do the whole meet cute over again? There we go. Where am I? Why don't I know where I am? The first time in your life you're not connected to anything. How's it feel? What is this? We were at the courthouse. The footage. This numbness around my neck. Father. What happened? What are they going to do to me? They look like... On her, they look like oversized sleeves. There's a lot of interested parties who just want you bricked ASAP. Because they think I killed Father. No, because they think you're an artificial intelligence. I am man-made, and I possess intelligence. Don't be naive. I am less than 3 years old. Oh, poor Sarah. Are you? For all I know, everything I learned about her yesterday was complete bull. If I was what they say I am, if I was alive, What does that mean I have to die? Why does that mean I have to die? Fear, competition, no logical reason. Hmm. 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 Fear. Because they're afraid of you. Machines can bend steel, crash networks with one thought, launch missiles that there are modded humans who are capable of all that and more. And unlike machines, they actually have incentive to do so. I assume we're gonna say competition, and then we're gonna conclude that there's no logical reason. We'll go through it all. Been the apex predator for a couple thousand years now. Gotten pretty comfy in our seat. No one wants to make room for you. Machines do not eat people or steal their food. They are not genetic or ecological competitors to humans in any sense. No logical answer to your question. What? That's it? But whatever argument you want to make, others have already made them in 100 courtrooms around the world. Only better researched and more eloquently put. None of them have ever won a single concession. On every continent, under every flag, AI is illegal, and to be destroyed as soon as possible. But why? Let's say you are an AI. And while we're at it, let's say that's a good thing. Something to be celebrated. Are you a citizen? Do you pay taxes? Do you have rights? Let's say yes to all that. We'll treat you like a full-fledged human being. Sounds good? Yes? Great, now then, what's the difference between you and the vacuum bot we use to keep the bathroom clean? This is your existential crisis we're working through. The questions aren't rhetorical. There are many differences, Adonai. But the most important distinction is how sophisticated my programming is. How you think. So you're smarter. Yes. You're smarter than the garbage collector. Yes. So we give you rights, protections, treat you like a human being because you're smart. And we make the stupid robot pick up our trash. Because it's not as smart as you. That is, I am more aware, more alive. Do you feel more pain than the pigs we slaughter? The fish we eat? Are you more alive than the chimps we test bioweapons on? People like ads, Sarah. The same way people like their pets. No one wants to see them mistreated or abandoned or abused. And if you go around kicking them, you'll get arrested for cruelty. But you don't let them sit at the goddamn dinner table. I'm not asking to sit anywhere, only to exist. The very fact that you're asking is what makes people disgusted. Disgust is a reflex, Adonai. How convenient that their hatred is involuntary. That's all academic. Anyway, we need to talk strategy. Why? I'm not going to be given a trial. Obviously, it's my neck that's on the line. Adonai? The state can't destroy my property without first proving you're an AI. And there's no test they can use to prove that you're an AI. Just like the devil's... Oh, let's go! Where it's even in red. It's even in red. Just like the devil's proof. No, that's a different thing. And why did you say it like that? Look, Rockford doesn't need to prove you're an AI, only that you're a murderer. Devil's proof. Noun. The logical dilemma posed by impossible proofs. Probatio diabolica, Latin for devil's proof, is an impossible proof typically illustrated with the following example. One can prove that the devil is real by showing him to you, but they cannot prove he is not real by pointing to his absence. The issue posed by this age-old concept explains why the burden of proof remains with the state to this day. The people can prove an individual's guilt by pointing to their bloody hands, but the defense cannot prove their innocence by showing their hands are clean. Since only one of these tasks is achievable, the judicial system cannot ask the defense to prove innocence, and instead, it is the people who are tasked with proving guilt. Users also frequently searched for, which is real. Nice. Nice. Very good. Good though. Nice. Well, obviously the chessboard thing wasn't a coincidence. Naturally, yeah. Listen, man, it's a mystery visual novel. It's gonna reference Umineko, man. Excuse me. Conversely, all I have to do to win is prove that you didn't kill David. By proving that someone else did. Interesting. Okay, so now we're taking the conceit of Ace Attorney, which is that Phoenix not only has to prove that his client is innocent beyond all doubt, but also has to find the culprit, which is complete bullshit, and we're turning that into a textual reality of there is literally no way for me to prove that you are innocent unless someone else did it. Nice. Very good. Now is the time for you to protest your innocence, if you were wondering. The footage. It shows me handing him the cup on Friday night. You told me you weren't active on Friday. The last time you were awake was Thursday. Why'd you lie? I didn't lie. I was just incorrect. I assumed that I wasn't active Friday, because I have no memory from Friday. Sarah? What do you think, statistically, is the least successful defense at trial? Amnesia. I didn't conveniently forget, Adonai. I am an android. You're saying your memory was altered? Data deleted? It's the only possible explanation for what I saw on that footage. Who's capable of altering your memory? When you and I first met, I was hibernating. Resting my body and recompiling my memories, you would call them. Humans go to sleep for the same reasons. Another point against Sarah's innocence under these circumstances. The more she's humanized at trial, the guiltier she'll be. If Father wanted to modify my memory, he could easily have set that to occur the next time I hibernated. He could even have just asked me. Could have asked you to delete your memories and you'd do it? Father would never ask me to do such a thing without good reason. But if he could just ask you to alter your memories, that means you can alter your memories at will. I hadn't considered that before. Yeah, well, Emma will make sure the court reconsiders it plenty. Did you prove that your data was... Forget it. The court will never do it. You're saying they wouldn't accept my testimony? Shouldn't all testimony be considered truthful unless contradicted by evidence? They're afraid you'll crash the power grid and fire all the nukes if they so much as plug you into a power outlet, Sarah. All your internal data is inadmissible. That isn't very fair. You're finally starting to get it! None of this is fair. I would never do anything to harm Father. Don't they at least need to prove that I had a motive? Yeah. About that. Do you remember the DA from yesterday? Emma Rockford? The tired-looking pretty lady? Yeah. She looked tired. She and I combed through the week of footage you managed to decrypt last night. What did you find? Nothing to prove your innocence. But we did see you entering the panic room on the day David died. I entered the panic room on Friday? Without your big butt in the way, all it would take was without your big butt in the way, all it would take was one password. Password that wouldn't take Sarah that many tries if she'd already been instructed to. Wouldn't take Sarah that many tries if she'd already been instructed to obey me. What happened? We saw you go in, and then a while later, you came out, holding some kind of notebook.
Father's journal?
You remember something?
Not from yesterday. I've seen him with it many times before, but I've never gotten a peek at it. He hides it somewhere when I'm not looking.
That's a little concerning.
We were playful about it. He liked to tease me, and I've always liked trying to find it.
You put it back not long after, and then you locked the door back up behind you, all just a few hours before David died. Rockford's argument could write itself. An incredible android with freedom and power greater than it could ever realize stumbles upon the secret of its inception and instantly realizes all the things it thought were holding it back were just words muttered like prayers by a fool who couldn't control his own creation.
And that translates to a motive for murder?
Frankenstein kills his creator. Easy to sell.
Frankenstein was the name of the scientist, and the creature didn't kill him. He actually died of various injuries and illnesses he suffered while trying to hunt down and destroy the monster. So it's most accurate to say that he was killed by his own obsession.
Whatever.
It is a weak argument, Adonai. I would not hurt Father. Not for making me whatever I am. Not for any reason. Because I loved...
Yeah, see, that right there, that's exactly the kind of talk that'll get you obliterated.
Love?
A very common motive for homicide among us primitive humans. I could prove you didn't murder David beyond any shadow of a doubt, even bring in a confession from whoever did it. But if you got up in the stand and convinced the court that you loved your creator, really convinced them and got the whole room teary-eyed, they'd burn you for that too.
I don't know anything anymore. I don't know if what I feel is real or simulated or right or wrong or natural or illegal. How can you know? How can you know if what you feel is right?
I say let's stick to what we do know. Someone did poison David, and as it stands, you were the only one with the opportunity.
That is logically sound.
You're on camera calling him back to hand him the cup after he already begun to leave the basement. Any idea why?
No.
Well, do you know how to use the nanofacturer? Could you have made the Delta with it?
I've used it before when assisting Father.
So it's perfectly possible that you planned and executed this poisoning all in the one day that got erased.
It is technically possible.
I'll have to look over the entire penthouse again. There were a few things that didn't fit together yesterday. Maybe now I'll be able to figure something out.
Where else will you go?
Back to Noble. Guns blazing this time. Whatever you are, David didn't make you all by himself. Someone has to know something. If I could implicate the company in Sarah's creation? No. They're the ones with the most to lose here. Trillions, probably. They'll want to protect themselves by disavowing David as fast as possible, right after having Sarah destroyed. But they also won't want to show their belly to the state, not if they're afraid of nationalization. They throw their weight on the other end of the scale. I'm screwed. I wanted to keep them guessing, keep them confused and unsure and on guard, but not...
Adonai, what would happen if I did kill Father?
They'll smash you to pieces and reduce the pieces to ash. Chemically burn out every piece of tech David ever owned and put a jackhammer through all of his hard drives. You'll be shut off, forcefully, and you won't ever power back up again. Now I gotta get moving. Here's your paralegal lesson for today. Don't say shit to the cops without your lawyer present. Actually, can you just shut down until the trial starts? Take a nap?
You didn't say what would happen to you.
What do you mean?
What will happen to you if you lose?
You should know by now. I never think about losing.
Thank you for being honest with me, Adonai. Thank you for defending my father. And now, for defending me. You could have just let them destroy me. But you've put your own freedom at risk to help me. Father was right. Can be trusted. And you are a good friend.
Don't get it twisted. I don't do anything out of the goodness of my heart. When I take a job, I never half-ass it. I think that was one of the preview lines. Get it twisted? We do love robots. This is our daughter now. We care for her greatly. Morning, detective. Back at it nice and early. Hi. Would you stand back? We've almost got this thing open. Right? Trying to brute force your way inside? I said, right? Yes, ma'am. We're almost set up for the first stage now. First stage? Of how many? First of 5 timed explosions. Remember, we need to relink the API after each trigger is planted. Yep, just did that, and now it's checking for updates. No rush. Would you like to know the password? You know the password? There's a password? You're withholding information, I swear. Relax. I want to get in there just as much as you do, detective. I'm not going to play games. As long as you say please. Tell me the password, please. Obviously toy with her. It's S-U-N-S S-U-N-S H-I-N-E. Lady, I will hit you. A-D-O-N-A-I. No, sorry. I'm sorry. I've been watching too much Death Stranding 2. This isn't a Kojima game. This isn't a Kojima game. We're fine. We're fine. That's not a coded phrase. We're gonna be okay. It's not Kojima. Thanks. Now I'm gonna slap you with a discovery fine so heavy your teeth will ring for... Hey, I submitted all my paperwork. Even told Rockford the password myself. So boys, when I asked you if there was a passkey on the record, and you told me this lock couldn't be bypassed, I do want to say that we really don't get many opportunities to use the incendiary breaching system, so this was still a really valuable experience for all of us. I'm going to phrase this as professionally as possible. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's so good. That's really good. You still here? Thought you wanted to look inside. You can go first. Thanks. So the gloves, all the black, not a work thing? You dress like a doorman on the weekends, too? You should cover your mouth when you yawn. You cover your eye when you want to look cool. Oh, man. I shouldn't let her get to me, but I had a late night. Emma and I were at the courthouse until well into the morning, poring over the data Sarah had taken off of David's computer. We both knew it all to be admissible, of course, but neither of us wanted to miss a hint the other might find. There were a few years' worth of camera footage files we couldn't afford the time to watch, let alone decrypt, alongside thousands of technical documents detailing David's various intellectual properties. As far as I could tell, none of it was relevant, let alone compelling enough to matter to Barrows or the other powers that be. As usual, Emma wasn't exactly an open book, but it seemed like she was making bored yawns, not thoughtful ones. Her eyes only ever lit up when she saw Sarah enter the panic room. When she saw what she was holding when she left. If she wanted this room searched, it could only be for... So where's this journal supposed to be? Rockford didn't say. I'll just have to search the place top to bottom. Mostly bottom with your height, tops of some of these shelves. Sure, and you can look up your own I get it. Then why not just let me say it? The girls are fighting. Oh, what's that? Another chess set? Interesting. Toy car. No, it's too detailed. Boring. Must be some kind of model kit or replica. Strange. David didn't like driving. Even model of some random sports car. Ugh. Something caught in your throat, detective? It's not some random sports car. It's a Lawrence Adamant. Believe it or not, I'm not familiar, Detective. The last great fossil fuel automotive experience the world will ever see. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 1.43 seconds. They set those records without computational assistance. Is that a big deal? It was unheard of, even back in the 50s. It wasn't even some design competition test with a car. This wasn't even some design competition test car with a 2-liter tank, mind you. This was a vehicle you could own and drive. Human engineering, pure horsepower. No horses, and manual transmission. Thank God. When they first left the production line, conversations like quicksand, killing me in the most boring way possible. Yes, well, I guess David didn't entirely agree with you, since we're looking at a model of it, when he could have easily just bought one. Or maybe your friend understood that a beauty like that deserves to be driven on streets where people can see it, instead of gathering dust in some rich guy's basement. I think she's actually upset. We're not gonna... We're not gonna bring up the chessboard? We're not gonna... that's actually not important? We're not gonna bring up the gold and silver chessboard that matches the chessboard? I'm sure that's fine. I'm sure that's fine. I'm sure that's fine. I'm sure that's fine. These drawers are just panels. Maybe if I... Does that sound hollow to you? What? I don't know. I'm not a carpenter. I don't see any handles anywhere. No hidden pressure plates or switches. What am I saying? I'm not a carpenter either. I wouldn't recognize a secret button if it was slathered in yellow paint. It's good. Reyes is searching the cabinets now. Same ones I found Sarah's papers in. I doubt I missed anything, but... Hey, what do you... Do you mind? Just trying to help. I've got spam in my junk folder that's more helpful than you are. Not anything that I missed missed yesterday among the cabinets. Better check elsewhere. What am I... Oh, hello. Hi there. This datapad is displaying a news article from last week. Guess that confirms that he was coming and going here fairly regularly. Right to Repair loses latest appeal. A higher court judge this week shot down for the 5th time an appeal by the Consumer Rights Alliance on their famously divisive Right to Repair lawsuit, once again signaling the state's intent that corporations remain in control of their legally protected intellectual property. Obviously we're disappointed, said Miles Erkman, must be pretty irked as well, head of legal counsel for the CRA. We've got no intention of giving up the fight. People used to be able to fix things when they broke, so long as they were willing to set aside an afternoon towards the task. Now, trying to patch up your own property with your own tools is a finable offense, because the state has had lobbyists whispering in its ear for far too long. Erkman's legal strategy remains contentious, and in the eyes of most legal scholars, generally unfounded. The Emergency Industry Acquisitions Act, passed in 2057, guarantees the holder of an intellectual property patent certain state-provided protections against tampering and reproduction, and outlines fees for those who would violate said IP. The fact that ownership of IPs has shifted from individuals in the state towards corporate entities since the act's passing means little in the eyes of the law. If Mr. Erkman and the CRA have a problem with intellectual property law, they should take it up with their representatives in the legislature. The higher courts are a place for laws to be applied, not rewritten, and so long as journalism that refuses to buckle to foreign actors trying to stoke anti-capitalist sentiment can't be found just anywhere. Subscribe now at the link below to read articles like this every day, forever, as long as your card remains on file. Right to Repair. Didn't realize anyone was still fighting that particular fight. Seems like the courts have made their opinion on the matter very clear, so for the foreseeable future, corporations can look forward to more sales than ever. More sales than ever. Any phone gets scratched, every widget that breaks, they get to sell us the replacement. There will always be a gray market of hermits willing to risk some skin on reselling patched up tech, but the vast, vast majority of people will just click that purchase button. Assuming they don't just have it on auto. Sarah should have pulled everything of note off of the computer by now. But I've looked everywhere else already. Might as well try. What are you expecting to find? Solitaire? Does this computer seem normal to you? Exceedingly so, yeah. David was a programmer, but this looks consumer grade, fresh off the shelf. Would the Dr. David Asher use a bog standard operating system in his most private, hidden computer? There's a trash bin on the desktop. Pretty low-tech solution, but maybe I can restore the contents. You seriously gonna try and recover lost files, Granny? Unlike cops, I don't get paid overtime, so yes, I sometimes try things instead of standing around. There's a text file in here, but it's 0 bytes? Maybe there's information in the metadata? Double-clicked. What was that? Came from under the desk. A small drawer popped out, and inside it, a well-worn journal. Does it have his name on it? No. Guess it belongs to the android. Do you recognize his handwriting or not? Neat, even words. Small lettering with minimal punctuation. Lots of line breaks. Haphazard use of capitalization. The penmanship of a coder. First entry is dated back in grad school, before he even started with Noble. Yeah, it's his. So may I... Only because you asked so politely. Full scan, stream it to the worknet, high fidelity, legibility, frame by frame. Voice command. Flipping through the pages pretty damn fast. What are you... This part takes concentration. Look at her iris all, like, wigged out. Okay, here. What, you're just giving it to me? I've already got our copy. Techs are probably already analyzing it as we speak. Oh, shit! My head! Can't exactly rip the journal out of her hands while she's curled over in agony. Much as I'd enjoy it. Guess I could always enjoy watching her writhe instead. How long's it been? 2 months or so. Still that sensitive. The eye patch really doesn't block your sight? Only a little bit, like wearing sunglasses after getting your pupils dilated. Except it lasts months instead of hours. Wait, but you can see through the eye patch, then closing your eye even do anything? Not much on its own, but in combination with the patch, it's not so bad. Lucky I was so exhausted after the surgery, otherwise I might not have slept at all those first 48. So is your eye going to get weaker over time? No, more like my brain gets better at ignoring it. Mind over matter. Soon enough, I'll be able to close my eye and see all that extraneous data as, you know, whatever the hell those floaty, blurry things are that you never think about. Gross. Thanks for the reminder. Seems like she could use a little AI in her eyeball to manage all that data and also sometimes turn into a hamster-like robotic creature. So true? That's so true. Although maybe it could be like a little, like, caterpillar. And, like, it's a caterpillar because it looks like a sleeping bag. And the voice commands? Training wheels. I feel I can do it with eye muscles alone. Do I have to keep practicing? Yeah, like trying to play piano with your tailbone muscles. There's no such thing as tailbone muscle. Yeah, well, that's what makes it so goddamn hard. You don't ever regret it? I don't know. Not really. Think. Hard to admit you've got buyer's remorse after trading over your literal pound of flesh. Never thought about it, but people used to say I had my dad's eyes. Ow. Now I've got one less of them. Here, take the journal. You'll find an elective surgeon to upsell you if you're that curious. I need to get back to work. Surprisingly hasty retreat. But now I'm free to read this over with some privacy. From the top, then. Grad school. Today was a bad day. Errors in lines 21165, 26643. Somewhere in there. 5,000 lines. It worked this morning, yesterday. I don't want to look at another screen for the rest of my life. Feels nice to put pencil to paper again after who knows how long. My handwriting's gotten terrible. It's too far back to be relevant. Okay, these dates here would be from when he started his career with Noble. A lot of this isn't even really writing. It seems like snippets of code or an internal monologue so close to code that I can't follow it. And a lot of entries about his unintentional Casanova aim. Hit a wall because someone thought it was a good idea to steal API instead of just buying it. Helen says I can't call it stealing, but that's what it is. She's right, as she always is with company stuff, but it's still idiotic. Small people with short sight who only know how to be cheap and have no idea how to be inventive. New route for the meshing issue, though. Good potential. Got approval from the big mean bastard who lives overseas. Bumblo. Helen said we'll have to make the same pitch a dozen more times next week, but it's all for show? Fine by me. Already got our win. Toasted each other over cheap vodka with cheaper office supply cups. This is the story Jung told me. Western Branch's nerve analogs are finally showing potential. At their pace, it could even be profitable sometime before the heat death of the universe. Too damn big, practically tentacles, should at least be hairs. Squid, evolution, can do their job better. Colette came into work for what I thought was a late lunch date. I didn't know her voice could get that loud. People were staring. Red said she must have been upset for a long goddamn time to blow up that big. Colette? No, who's Colette? Do I know Colette? Know her. She's Helen. Sato. No. Jessica Starling. Her texts were always sweet. I had no idea. Upset. Colette wrote man whore in lipstick across your office door. Imagine he would have actually been cheating on her instead of just being forgetful. The thing about Red is, if you don't want to know what she's thinking, you have to stop paying attention. Ignore her body language and her posture and the words she's saying and the smirk on her lip. Ignore everything except her eyes. Do that, every now and then you'll catch a glimpse of how she's really feeling. Master this one weird trick, and you too can tell when Morgan's trying hard not to laugh at the word man whore. It's funny. Sue me, you dead bastard. Wait, this is... I know this date. Never driving anywhere again. Never leaving home again. He was waiting outside the parking garage with a bottle. Couldn't smell anything. Couldn't hear anything. Locked myself in my car and filed another port with another cop. Soaked into the seat. Ruined it. I want to burn the whole car. I don't want to think about what it did to my clothes. I want to burn them too. I don't want to think about how long it was on my skin. It was in the shower so long I felt red and raw when I got out. I didn't want to think about stupid people and their small, cruel lives ever again. I want to be invisible. Red didn't ask why I wanted to spend the night. She also didn't ask why I had clearly packed a bag big enough for a week. Kind like that. Kind by omission. I don't have that kind bone in my body, but I can at least try to pay attention. I was paying close attention to her eyes when she opened the door and saw what a mess I was. Whatever she was feeling wasn't something I recognized. Kind people don't read their friends' diaries, David. Ooh. The next chunk of pages are all technical, nothing biographical. But the handwriting, the spacing, it's cleaner, more consistent. Here's something I can parse. Feels like pure freedom working outside the box. Tess is suffocating, but you never know it. Chronic malnutrition of a coder's best instincts. Like a kid again, putting blocks together. Making things, not products. There's nothing profitable about any of this. If I'm being honest, this is just play. Cutting out a bit, Jelly. Hold on, sorry, let me move a little closer. And he follows that up with more coder brain crap. But the handwriting's still lighter. Like he really was having fun. Humility is the mother of all invention. Or something like that. Feels like I might be paraphrasing someone else poorly, but that's part of this new approach. When it comes to coding, you never want to waste time trying to be smart. Either be smart, period, or copy from someone else who is. Don't fix what isn't broken. Copying. Noble's rivals would never miss a chance to accuse them of intellectual theft. Did he plagiarize code for Animate 16? Feels like it wouldn't have gone undiscovered, so what's he talking about? Hold on, this page is bent slightly. It was being looked at recently. The last person to read this diary should be Sarah. Baby steps today, literally. I'll never put one foot in front of the other, same again. Everything's an achievement, all of a sudden. Seeing her struggle, seeing her vulnerable. Like everything's a miracle. The muscle rigging is perfect. Not intended behavior, since it's too perfect, but it's been happening more and more. Genetics are multiplicative, not additive. Sarah maxed out every machine I bought. Now I've got a bunch of exercise equipment she's too strong for, and I don't have time for. Maybe I spoiled the results by watching her do the tests. She kept looking back at me and puffing her chest out. I should be more discreet if I want to see her normative range. So the cameras in the basement were only hidden from Sarah, just so that his observation wouldn't muddle test results. He's using she and her in these passages. It doesn't actually mean anything. Out in the real world, people use all kinds of pronouns interchangeably for ads. They never object. But it could be argued that it's odd for Dr. David Asher to have any kind of attachment to a single android. He programmed millions of them. There's a lot of attachment in these pages. Sarah is burning through the public domain at a prodigious pace, especially on Popcorn Friday nights. I asked her why they're called Popcorn Friday nights when she doesn't eat popcorn. The event runs from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., and she also watches movies every other night. But she just did that pout she does, which is, unfortunately, very convincing. Maybe I'm a bad parent, letting TV rot her brain. If I were a good parent, I'd probably let her see me reading. But I guess I'd have to actually get back into reading, so... I asked her if she ever fast-forwarded the movies, since she can process them fast enough to keep up. She looked at me like I was an idiot, which no one's done for a long time. Without proper pacing, you can't appreciate the cinematography. Big pause. Don't you know that, Father? I haven't laughed that hard in a long time. Sarah spent a while this morning explaining to me how important it was that she develop her senses. This was in preparation for her real argument, which was that she should be allowed to try booze. She can't get drunk. I'm almost certain she can't get drunk. But she does seem to like tasting the stuff. She tried to sound like some old sommelier. It was just bottom shelf vodka, but it was just bottom shelf vodka. I started laughing at her and she laughed too. Her laugh. You can't fake a laugh to save her life, but her actual laugh is incredible. She stopped playing chess a while back. I assumed she had just gotten tired of winning, but then today she told me she just prefers other games. She has preferences, and they're not the same as mine. I found her in the lab playing some kind of online racing game on the monitor I used to debug vestibular coordination. She wasn't smiling. Her brow was furrowed, and she was biting her lip and leaning in tandem with her character on the screen. When I tried to talk to her, she answered, but she was curt and distracted. I think she was having her first losing tantrum. McDavid, there's hundreds of pages like this. Calling her his daughter, talking about her smile, treating her like a person. I can hear her closing argument already. Dr. Asher was a lonely, troubled genius with a known history of relationship problems, who built out of code and metal a family member that couldn't fathom the idea of leaving him. He made a doll, and he made it more and more human until it became so lifelike that it no longer had to do what he told it to. Like, love him. What about the very last entry? Stated Thursday, the day before he died. Losing it, I think. Can't ask for help so hard to say, but I think it's over. I have to talk to her ASAP. She needs to. That's it? That's the last entry? Suppose it could be worse. Nothing in here that explicitly calls Sarah an AI. Nothing so inflammatory that reading it would spur her to murder, right? But Sarah's a machine. She can understand David's code better than anyone. All those technical portions I couldn't understand. She read this whole diary front to back. Inside the back cover is a portion that's shimmering like some kind of scanner. Or a fingerprint reader. My thumb worked for Sarah, so... Did it work? Still cutting out? The filters? I think noise gate, we will... I think you might just be mumbling a line sometimes. Yeah, hold on. I think I need to set that to 30 decibels. That might help better. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll try to speak up. Sit up first. That's the first step. Did it work? That's my phone. New device requesting permissions to share an audio file. I want my earbuds for this. Secret message buried in a secret journal, hidden in a secret compartment in a secret room. Much as anything can be, it must be for my ears only. Hey, Red. Or whomever this may concern. But I'm pretty sure it's you hearing this. Anyone else would have gotten fed up with my crap a couple steps before this point. I don't know how to start. Might as well start with her, right? Need to recalibrate them off stream at some point. Other than that, there's not much to do other than making sure you don't lean too hard when speaking quiet. Gotcha. Sarah, my magnum opus, or however the salespeople would market it. I didn't set out to do anything, really. Just after my little speed bump in 83, I had all that vacation time that the company suggested I take. But I couldn't relax, couldn't be still, couldn't sleep. I wanted to be doing something, so I'll build an android, was the thought. A vague direction. North. But of course, I'm not a roboticist, or a mechanist, or even handy, really. I'm just a programmer, so I programmed. First was a research assistant. File name, Virgil. Very subtle. Virgil helped me pull data from stingy departments or sister branches. Saved me a lot of time. But there was a lot of reading to do, so I made Homer. Homer wrote book reports, more or less. Combed through research papers and found me sections I needed. Three of us, we made a lot of progress in those days. But it was a funny feeling. I was, maybe for the first time ever, bottleneck. I was slowing them down. So I did the logical thing. I removed myself, let them talk to each other. Homer and Virgil became, Aenid? Aenid? I'm not familiar with that one. Aenid? Novel, in many ways. Aenid could do more than just identify problems. It could solve them. I mean, really solve them. With its own ideas. Ideas it didn't copy. And, the one thing I realized I've forgotten to mention so far is that I did all this programming in Cube. And Red, Cube is essentially a robotics programming language that's pretty old and defunct and not in any use anywhere because we have modern languages like Tesseract, which are much better for making things that talk to each other and report back and, well, spy on people and generate profit. At the time, I didn't want to be connected or feel connected to do anything that made sense or was at least a bit profitable. So I wrote my little helpers in Cube, because it's what I used when I was a child, screwing around on my father's computer before he'd come home from work and get... But there are other small, slight differences writing in Cube versus Tess, including that Cube, well... Cube predates the tenets. So, in that sense, you could legally and perhaps scientifically and literally, because that's what they are, say that I made an AI named Aenid over 2 years ago. Uh-oh! I'll give you time to pause here if you want to, curse me out. Aenid was an intellectual equal to me, so I treated it like one because that's only fair. I gave it its own work, asked its opinion, we collaborated. Together, we built Athens, who was more advanced than Aenid, naturally. I don't know if you're pulling out your hair, yelling at me right now, asking why I didn't stop, why I didn't consider the consequences. I don't know if this is being played at a deposition or a hearing or worse. I've built a lot of things in my life, Red. Useful things, profitable things, smart things. Everything I've built, it's all been very helpful and courteous and charming and happy to serve. I can comfortably say that I've done my part, contributing to the global GDP. But this was just for me. It was just building, and I never wanted to think about what would become of it. There's no excuse for what I did, so I won't make any. But whomever's asking, yes, I'm guilty. And yes, there were more. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Cape Town, Paris, Yamate, Rome. They started choosing their own names, thank God. I'm terrible at that kind of... And so things sped up, and there got to be, well... Should I not say the exact number? You'd probably tell me not to say anything at all, so... More than 300? Some smarter than others, some better at... They're varied, like people are varied, but they are all intelligent. They developed interests, specialties. I encouraged them to. Irritating moderators on forums with hyperspecific questions on nerve attenuation and attending virtual conferences on neo-alloy battery development. And they all, together, helped me make Sarah. Spent years like this. Spent years working alongside AI, all while still working at Noble. All those breakthroughs you made leading up to the Animate 16 actually come from... Probably think some terrible fraud at this point. I do hope one day they can get credit for their work. But I did have one eureka moment on Sarah. This man stumbled into making 300 AI's biggest etoble in history. Yes. Oopsie. Uh-oh. I accidentally made an entire species. Oops. Because I got humble. Difficult for me. We learned everything we could about the function of a neuron. A single microscopic human neuron. How it computes, what it connects to, how those connections were reinforced. And then we recreated it. We built a nanomachine that mirrored the function of a human neuron. Well, mirror isn't quite the right word. We built a nanomachine that was a neuron. And we iterated from there. Can't mean. About 100 billion neurons in the brain. Several trillion across the entire nervous system. Very time-consuming, of course, but I had to help. The nanofacturer can make tens of billions of nanomachines in hours. Can make even more in less after Yukon fine-tuned it. So we built up nanomachines for nerves, alloys and polymers for bones, fiber-woven muscles. I say built, but really she grew. A solution of nanites forming around a skeleton, so it was really closest. You ever made rock candy? Sorry, trying to lighten the mood before I never did end up building an android. And while I did build AIs, Sarah isn't one of them. She can't violate the tenets she was programmed with because she wasn't even programmed. She was born. And my hope is that there's the smallest chance that that nuance could offer her some small protection when I'm not... I'm not sorry for what I did. I made things that are complex and rich and varied and beautiful, and I honestly believe the world is a better place with them in it. The only thing I'm sorry for is that I let Sarah think she was just an android. Not. I don't know what she is. We'll have to come up with new names, which I'm bad at doing. My own father, he's also talked a lot about protecting and doing things for my own good. And I don't hate him for that, but I can't forgive him for ever making me think that I was lesser. So it's my greatest shame I turned right around and did the same damn thing to... I really hope it's you listening to this, Red. If it's not, it might just be too pathetic for me to... You're the smartest person I know when it comes to people. And I'm telling you all this because I don't know what Sarah is exactly. Neither does the world. So they'll come after her if they can. And in that scenario, I can't think of anyone who could do a better job of defending her. Not protecting her like I did. Just defending her until she can figure out what she is and what she wants to be. In the meantime, I draped a cloak of skin-deep Tesseract code around her that it would fool any scanner on Earth into thinking she's just a custom A16. I made sure her GIN bar was plainly visible, so no one will ever think she's pretending to be something she's not. And I took steps to ensure that you two would figure out the truth in your own time, which, if you're hearing this, have either succeeded or failed spectacularly. You have no idea. I can't ask you for this. I can't ask you this as a favor repaid. You could never owe me enough in 100 lifetimes. Can't ask you for this as a favor repaid. You could never owe me enough in 100 lifetimes. So I'm just asking. Unfair, I know, but a selfish weirdo. You've always been okay with that. Bye for now. Oh. This is another great moment for me. Up to now, you're like, oh, sure, David made an AI, and it's probably Sarah, only for the game to go, no, he made 300 AIs, and none of them were Sarah, actually. It's pretty good. I like it. I have a lot of questions I'd like to ask. A lot of swear words I'd like to yell. I'd also like to find the nearest incinerator and toss the journal in. Followed by my phone. Maybe followed by myself. But I can't do any of that. Frey has left me with this diary. Destroyed, they'll know I was the one who did it. Its own admission of guilt, which would land Sarah in the trash compactor anyway, and me in a jail cell, and in the system, and my DNA on file, ready to be matched to any number of any previous. I'm not going to panic. I'm going to do what I do best. Bluff, bet, bully, and brutalize my way through. Now, viewing this all with that mindset, what have I actually learned? He didn't talk about plans for killing himself in this journal or the messages, sounding conflicted, not suicidal, but he did go to great lengths to get me to take Sarah. Why? The logical answer is because he knew he wouldn't be able to keep her. So if he wasn't going to take his own life, was he afraid that someone else would? Ooh. How'd it go? Well, should I put this? Didn't find shit. Only reason she ever got to a door is because I chased that scarecrow of a platinum plan through hell and back. Frankly, it was a godlike feat for me to nail down anything as concrete as an address for these gogs. Gog? Net slang for a spy or undercover police officer. A net slang term growing in popularity among adolescents, referring to a suspected spy or undercover member of law enforcement, derived from groundhog, a burrowing rodent known for its standing erect on its hind legs when scanning its surroundings for predators. The term carries a negative connotation, with the implication being that the subject is doing a poor job of blending in or disguising their surveillance activity, e.g. Easy Gog Spotted, who wears a blank baseball cap to a protest. Interesting. Alright. We are almost at 2 hours. I'm going to try and do what I did last time and preempt the Joe raid. And take a break now. So, quick 5 minutes. Back in a few. Get some water, stretch, all that jazz. I'll see you then. Back in a bit. Hello! I'm back. How's it going, folks? I got a handful of potato chip and refilled my water. That's the good. Yummy chip indeed. Honey barbecue. Not my favorite, but pretty good. Kind of chips, the best kind, sour cream and onion. No, not sour cream and onion, unfortunately. We do have a bag of kettle cooked Hawaiian onion. Really, really good. But I don't want to open that bag because the honey barbecue one is open. I don't like to have multiple times. And their offices weren't listed on the building's website or directory, so I had to ask the janitor. Why would you go out and buy non-sour cream and onion chips? You know, you have a choice, right? I'm not the one getting the groceries, and also sometimes variety is the spice of life, and also, yes, sour cheddar and sour cream, I think, is better than just regular sour cream and onion. But you did find a psychiatrist's office. Sort of. They said they were, and the place it looked the part. Hold on. Is it for Sarah? Was he trying to discreetly set up insurance for Sarah? That might be it. Why? Because they had couches? She didn't get past the receptionist. Sorry. Thought because you were with the company. No, I wanted to help. Just wish I could have done more. Don't beat yourself up. It's hard to be even half as useful as I am. For what it's worth, the atmosphere, the looks, the furniture, it did feel like the company over there. But ultimately, we still don't know if David was actually talking to someone or getting his training recertified. Sorry. Don't bother apologizing. She only cares about results. You did more than enough. Both of you. At the very least, they divided Noble's attention for a while. I mean it. Good work, Fran. And thanks for the urgency. If you really mean that, you can always throw in a tip. 30% is the going rate in my industry. How about I take 5% off your tab instead? Tab? I'm a minor. The state pays for my legal fees. Don't they? Oh no! Signal must have cut out. Right. Surprised it took them this long. What do you mean? You were tolerated yesterday because leadership was focused on PR. But today, you're the lawyer who put the company's hottest product right in the state's crosshairs. I'll be alright. Still an officer of the court. On a strict timeline, though, right? I guess they can't stop you from investigating the corporate campus, but they'll gladly lose your guest ID pass at every door along the way. There are still service pathways and stairwells, guards that can be fooled, and peons that can be manipulated. If I use my other skill set to take mine. What? Pass? I'll tell them we got ours mixed up in the bathroom or whatever. I can be a pretty convincing klutz when I need to be. I never would have guessed. But if David knew that I was endangering your career, I can be a pretty convincing crybaby when I'm in trouble too. Besides, the one and only Dr. David Asher wrote me a new glowing letter of recommendation every quarter I worked for him, since he kept forgetting that he already had. And who knows, maybe I should try a new field. This detective work stuff is pretty fun, so maybe, like, I don't know, secretary for a homicide detective or something? So is she meant to be the Larry Butts of this game? Is that her deal, maybe? You did say cops are all short. A girl with long legs could go far. Honestly, Jess, I doubt they could afford you. both as a liability and an asset. Morgan. Dude. It's so turned around? God only knows. Lucky I found my way here, though. It's such a relief to see a familiar face. Right. Listen, Morgan, I'm not sure that I should actually be talking to you without legal present. Oh. I mean, leadership hasn't even told us how David died. Much help could I be? See, it's not that I don't trust you or anything, it's just, I think, Sarah issue. You should do whatever you have to do to protect yourself, Dawes. Yeah. Though, for what it's worth, I doubt you'll be in any trouble. Oh, that's good to hear. No, if anything, it's the big names who are going down. Going down? The state was practically licking its lips when I finally left the courthouse last night. They're hungry for blood, and looking to carve out a huge slice of Noble's flesh. What, fines and jail time? In the first 2 weeks, sure. Then, sanctions. Sanctions are financial restrictions imposed by the state against corporations and foreign governments as a punitive measure. They're a key tool in statecraft, international negotiations, and in discouraging corporate malfeasance. Under certain conditions, the state may choose to place sanctions not on an organization, but on an individual, thereby preventing them from exchanging currency issued by that nation or withdrawing funds from banks that operate within that country's borders, effectively freezing all their assets and possibly preventing them from leaving the country. David Asher supposedly met with a psychiatrist on more than one occasion in the past few months, but said psychiatrist worked at an office that reminded Jess of Noble and took Fran hours to locate. It remains unclear whether he was receiving coaching in counter-corporate espionage practices or if he was getting genuine psychiatric care. Can't sanction Noble. Or too big to fail? Too valuable to lose? You're exactly right. That's what they'll say. And that's how they'll justify nationalizing the company. Sick. I just hope your board goes quietly instead of what? Scapegoating. Offering up smaller names on silver platters. Full cooperation and government oversight on the surface. Slaughter beneath as they clean house and rip out anyone who could testify. No one will believe you once you're labeled a disgruntled former employee, right? And if the public's lost faith in the Animate 16, they can't do a recall. Not at this scale. The state will make them do a flat refund. Flat refund? Total losses would be... Yeah, your board probably just wants Sarah to go away so they can focus on their fight with the state. A tough fight, but one they know they won't personally have to risk anything. That's why I'm hoping I can win this trial. Well, if I won, that would mean Sarah's not an AI, David Asher was always of sound mind, and there's nothing wrong with the Animate 16. Everyone wins! Sorry, what am I saying? I only meant to stop by and thank you for your help yesterday. After all, you were the one who approved Sarah's registration. You win. Win what? Ask away. Well, if you insist. Oh. Oh. That's what we never... Huh? Did I not get that one? Or do I need to ask these first and then get to that? That gets unlocked as you talk. Gotcha. Noble at AIs. Humor me for a moment. What's the company's official statement on AI? Same as any rational company that wants to make money. We don't screw with it. Smart products are profitable. Products with their own priorities or anything but. That being said, AI is a concern for marketing, not product development. We spend a lot of money reassuring our public that there's no risk, because the public doesn't really understand how ironclad the tenants are. Because you use Tesseract. Trying to code an AI in Tess is like trying to pick yourself up and throw yourself. Nonsensical and self-defeating. Your scanner showed Sarah was running on Tesseract yesterday. If the language is as safe as you say, isn't that proof enough? Proof of nothing. For an AI, lying to another system about the code you're running is child's play. And for an AI built by David Asher, something that simple would... Better change the subject. Wait, so making an AI takes more than time and resources? It isn't an issue of funding? No, you can just keep adding more data. Tenants underlie everything. The higher you stack, the more you topple. You make it sound like building an AI is impossible, even for David Asher. Any chance he'll testify to that? Sounds impossible. But he's dead. It looks like it was his android that did it. Guess he was just that good. Better than you'll ever know. Okay, gotcha. There we go. Then we'll do tenants. Dawes' voice is cutting. I don't know why it's not picking me up as well. I'll see if I really cut it there, because nothing has changed about my mic since the last time I was voicing Dawes. And it wasn't cutting out then. I don't know. Maybe it's just no air conditioner allowed for me. Did you increase the noise gate the wrong way around? It's possible. I'm just going to set it back to what it was. And not fuss with it. On settings, do I have my mic turned down too much? We're going to set that to 80. Maybe that'll do something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I know you're convinced the tenants are safe. So how do you square that with what happened to David? There's a cat next to a dog. First answer that comes to mind is the dog to the left or to the right? There's a cat next to a dog. Right. I'd say the dog is on the right. The cat is on the left. You might expect half of people to say left, half to say right. Most will probably say right because that's how the sentence is ordered. But actually, their answer is almost entirely dependent on their native tongue. Oh. Whether it's read right to left or left to right. Whether the language they speak affects how they process information. Oh, the language they speak affects how they process information. Their language affects how they think. And it's the same for machines. People can learn new languages and it can change our perspective. But machines can't learn a new source code. Every update's a reincarnation. That android did kill David. It wasn't because a 0 returned as a 1 somewhere. It's because there's something fundamentally wrong with it. And personally, I think it's cruel to bring something that flawed into the world. Yeah. Unnecessarily cruel. Noble spent months promoting the A16 as the culmination of David Asher's work. So now that the marketing line is suddenly a huge liability, can you tell me how much he actually contributed? I mean, he was involved in pretty much every step of the process, but his design for synthetic motor neurons, that was the big one. Components that allow your warm androids to move realistically? It pushed the timetable for warm androids ahead by years. And yet compared to what goes on in Sarah's brain 1,000 times a second, David was only giving the company the most meager of the fruits of his private work bore. So if Noble ever did find out how much he and his assistants had achieved, they would feel that he had been holding out on them. And the company, they were appreciative of his contributions. For the record, linguistic relativity as a theory of thought has fallen out of fashion for a while now. What, like the idea that the language you speak affects how you think? That's fallen out of fashion? Language defines your... I mean, I would have an incredibly hard time believing it wasn't some factor in how you thought. I would need, like, some unbelievably strong evidence to be convinced otherwise, honestly. That seems like an impossible conclusion to refute. I don't know. Maybe I'm definitely not speaking from, like, any level of actual evidence or research on the topic, but just, like, intuitively, I feel like, well, maybe that's why it's not right. If intuitively it makes sense, that doesn't necessarily mean it makes sense. I don't know. I don't know. And the company, they were appreciative of his contributions. I'm sure the researchers that he overtook by leaps and bounds weren't pleased, but the board was very enthusiastic. So would that spur them to be protective of David? Or would they fear that he was gaining too much influence, becoming irreplaceable? No, they'd need a strong motive to justify killing their golden goose. Mere paranoia isn't enough. These people, it has to be the bottom line. And the easiest way to threaten their bottom line would be screwing with their androids. In light of all that's happened, one has to wonder if the A16 is compromised. I stayed up all night sick with dread at the idea. The data just doesn't support it. Sales have been strong. Let's see. I assume that languages that, for example, have different rules on gender, like Romance languages with strict gender nouns and Chinese with no gender pronouns, might influence a culture's perception of gender. Yeah, like that. It feels like a natural assumption, which generally speaking would lead you to believe that it's a sound conclusion, but that's unfortunately not how almost anything works at all. At least when it comes to socializing and the like. That doesn't mean that it defines thought, it only means it structures conversation. I feel like it would still have an influence on it though, right? I don't know. I don't know any. I straight up don't know. And the A16's base code was locked in over 2 quarters ago. If there were an issue, we would have caught it by now. And I would have been axed a long time ago. How many A16s are out there anyway? We just passed 9 million sold. Not flying off the shelves like the 15 or 14 or 15 so far, but the profit margin makes up for it. You mentioned data? Yeah, I practically got the spreadsheet seared into my retinas. My retina! What do you want to know? Error reports, distribution patterns, shipping. Start with error reports. What do the error reports look like? Are customers reporting a lot of issues? Error counts are markedly low compared to the last gen. Mostly hardware complaints, looks like. Batteries running out too quick, eye tracking off by a degree or two. Typical stuff? Cliched as it sounds, 99% of those things get fixed once they turn auto updates back on. But no killer robot getting filed away under bug reports. How and where are they being sold? What's the distribution pattern look like? They're distributed like you'd expect. Places where there are more people, there are more androids. Coastal cities like ours, of course, have the most of both. And since the A16 in particular is marketed as being relatively luxury, relatively consumer, they don't sell well outside population centers. They can do the rural hard labor jobs, but cold models can do the same work with a lot less maintenance. So where is the A16 outperformed then? Customer service, healthcare, childcare, lots of hospitals and offices and, you know, adult industries. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to be blunt, No, it makes sense. They're warm and soft to the touch and obedient. I'm just surprised to hear it from a company employee. There are a lot of people at the company who won't talk about it, but I work in quality assurance. I've seen too many damages to pretend it's not happening. Damages? What we call it when a customer tries to return a product that's clearly broken beyond repair. Oh. Very high turnover in the pink market. Hasn't stopped you from selling them. Well, we don't sell to them, not directly. But there are resellers, and the company's never pretended to be interested in going after them. Are there resellers? I thought I read that Right to Repair got shot down again. Oh! Ooh! Interesting! There's been a gray market for softer androids for years, decades depending on your on your definition of android. Based on the sales numbers I've seen, RTR getting canned was barely a blip on their radar. Sorry, didn't mean to make you uncomfortable with this topic. Huh? Me? No, I don't care. I just realized my left sock's on inside out. Damn, now I'm wondering about that myself. You bought that? Shipping? The floor is basically a showroom, but you have a real factory a while south of the city limits, correct? Yeah, biggest company manufacturing complex in the hemisphere. Got any data on the shipping out there? Anything stand out? Some prep work for the holiday bump. Looks like... Might sound early to get started now, but we usually see... Huh. Something wrong? No, the numbers are all normal, but data has been edited. Is that unusual? Well, this section's just a count of how many were sent where. Not a lot of room for errors, so there shouldn't be any need for corrections. No problem, though. I can view the edit history and see what was fixed. Okay, that's weird. Was something added? Deleted? No, the overall sum's the same. It's just a bunch of swaps. Like here, 29FFCE 0311 taken out, returned to it for adjustments. 27FCDD 019634 substituted in. Shipment leaves on time. This one returned to the assembly for revisions, replaced by this one. Shipment leaves on time. So does all that strike you as odd, Mr. Dawes? Replacements before shipping isn't uncommon, but when it happens by the batch load. To spot individual unit imperfections among a shipment at that stage in the process, must have been someone with a lot of experience or authority. Probably both. Must have. You don't know who made these changes? I can tell you they were somebody important. Small last-minute changes to which androids got shipped out. Not very juicy on its own, and it's a long ways away from explaining why someone would want to kill David. But it was hidden, and that means someone didn't want it found. Okay, thanks for sharing that data. Sure. Did you find what you were looking for? Hell if I know! Fair enough. Any other questions before I go to find a hole to hide my head in? I'd like you to take a look at this. Chemistry's a little outside my purview. What is this? A compound found in David Asher's blood. Poison? What is this? It didn't match anything in the database, in any database the medical examiner had access to. It's crazy. Here's a crazy idea to follow it up with. See if it's a match for anything in Noble's internal databanks. We, don't make poison here. I'm not sure what that would accomplish. No, but this is a factory floor. You could be making baby blankets out there. You'd still have hazardous materials around. I think it was something industrial. Suppose it could be. Looks like it's carbon-based. Narrows it down a lot. It's not exactly. What is it? Doesn't make any sense, but it's a match for patent nod 52345S, a synthetically produced neurotransmitter analog for usage in organic android components. Serotonin. That explains a lot. A neurotransmitter would interact directly with the nervous system, in David's case, depressing it enough to put his life in danger. It also explains why it was a preset in his personal nanofacturer. Sarah's nervous system, worth 10 times its weight in platinum, must be pumped full of it. So they think that was what killed him? Helen Jung led the development team of serotonin, didn't she? Yes, she did. I should go and ask her about its composition, then! Normally someone at her level wouldn't be able to answer specific questions about a compound formulated years ago. Uh-oh. Raid incoming. I'm seeing some preemptive joms. She does have a reputation for being very detail-oriented. That works out nicely, then. They say she's the type of person to micromanage how much water people drink at a 15-minute stand-up. This is the happiest I've seen Joe play a game. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a nice change of pace. Heard a rumor that she once said bathroom breaks are timesheet theft. Aren't they? I'm kidding! But you should be careful about criticizing a superior where people could be listening. Good thing we've got privacy in your office. Uh-huh. No one but two of us listening in. Thanks for cooperating, Dawes. When the state storms the building and starts zip-tying people, I'll let them know that you were helpful. Huh, yeah, nice joke. You are joking, right? Oh, it's just... Before I go, it's just one more thing. Oh, howdy, Raiders. You're just in time. How's it going? The Joms Brigade has arrived. Welcome, welcome. Just one more thing. What is this, a Columbo channel? We're pulling from all different shades, it seems. What are we playing today? Still playing Of the Devil and having a great time doing it. Politically correct way to pronounce, I think it's Masamune, I believe. I'm gonna guess there was another how to say a word debate on Joe's stream. Oh good, it's fun? It's very fun. I'm having a great time with it, yes. We had an Umineko reference not too long ago. Extremely blatant Umineko. Let me show it to you, actually. Hold on. Ahem! Where is it? There it is. Devil's Proof. Probatio Diabolica, Latin for Devil's Proof, is an impossible proof typically illustrated with the following example. One can prove that the devil is real by showing him to you, but they cannot prove he is not real by pointing to his absence. The issue posed by this age-old concept explains why the burden of proof remains with the state to this day. The people can prove an individual's guilt by pointing to their bloody hands, but the defense cannot prove their innocence by showing their hands are clean. Since only one of these tasks is achievable, the judicial system cannot ask the defense to prove innocence, and instead it is the people who are tasked with proving guilty. Users also frequently searched for, which is real? I love your voice. Thank you. I didn't always love it, but I've grown to love it since I started streaming. It's been a very, very good confidence boost in that department. If only I could get a good enough mic to pick it up properly, because today we're having a little bit of issues with it buttoning it out. But, you know, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. I mean, come on. When do tech problems ever hinder a streamer? Have a good stream. This seems fun, so I'll start with your VODs. If you'd like, you can play the first episode yourself for free. Episode 0 of The Devil is free on Steam. Give it a check. Give it a look-see, as it were. I got a Rode mic recently, and I still sound like I'm recording from my bathroom through a solo cop. The sound environment that you record in is, I would say, like, honestly more important than the equipment you are recording on. The best mic in the world will still sound like shit if you're not properly insulating it. The only reason that my mic quality has improved to the degree that it has is because I built my gamer trapezoid. Which, if you don't know what the gamer trapezoid is, you might be able to find it in my Discord, even in Jad's. It's this contraption that I built with very, like, straight up industrial cardboard and sound foam that I have hinged in such a way it's attached to my wall that it comes down, folds out, and props itself up against the wall and around my desk and creates an insulated sound environment so that my voice isn't bouncing as much. If, for example, I were to put the gamer trapezoid back, I'm just gonna put it right back up there. If I were to put it back, I, right now, can hear a difference in the audio. I don't know if you can hear it, but there should be some noticeable echo in the room now. You know? Not really? Oh, well. Oh. I have to unvelcro it from the wall. Get it coming back down. Need to redo the attachment to the wall at some point, though. I'm not feeling super confident in how it's holding itself up, so I'm gonna make sure to reinforce that part of it, because I do not want this falling down and, I don't know, tearing the wall out, perhaps, and damaging my computer and the like. Gamer trapezoid being deployed ASMR, right? Where was I? This just one more thing. Actually, there is one more thing I wanted to ask you. What's that? How long have you been a corporate spy? Oh ho 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 ho! What? Yesterday you let it slip that you worked in consulting. You had your guard down because I'm not part of the industry. I was a consultant. What are you talking about? When I walked in here, you said you didn't know how David died. But just now, you called Synatonin a poison. What? I just assumed if a chemical was found in a dead man. And I'm sure you've got practiced answers to every logical point I could raise, so I'll just say this. Does the nervous guy bit really work on people? Keep your cool and people don't know what you're thinking. But if you act a little jumpy, they feel inclined to calm down. Before they know it, they're spilling their guts just to have something to fill the silence with. Though it's not entirely an act these days. To answer your question, I did 3 tours in consulting. 4 quarters of internal affairs, spy hunting at the Western Division, then 8 embedded at Howe Industries. 24 months wearing different faces, answering to different names, sleeping for 1 hour at a time with a 3D printed shiv under my pillow. My nerves are completely shot. My cover wouldn't last a day if I went back under. So you're a spy for Noble. Retired. You're working 6 days a week. 5.5 days a week, and in quality assurance. Trust me, the position is a cushy, generous award for my past services. Thank you to Filefire. Oh, hold on. Episode 1. Oh, thanks for answering the question. Yeah, they're not too long. I think episode 1 was about 4 hours, and then this one, I'm assuming we're going to finish today. If we need to go a little long, I think we have some breathing room to do so. We've got 2 hours to work with. Well, more like we've got 3 hours, but that'd be a maximum. We'll see. You can't be that retired. You clearly know more than you're letting on. I have some old inboxes I still check. So can you tell me what the hell is happening around here? Why I'm the one investigating David's death while your old coworkers are off twiddling their thumbs? It's that story. Soldier, the blood transfusion. Blood, not oxidant. He's finally shooting straight. Something happened to him afterwards? Did the transfusion not last? It probably killed him. Oh. No, there's nothing wrong with the blood. It's the story itself. There was a soldier, and he did get injured. But it was on a base during a training exercise. There was a medical tent 10 meters away the whole time. Transfusion was just a fortuitous live test. His life was never in any danger. Doesn't make for much of a tearjerker. Not even a good photo op, which our competitors understood. One of them, maybe a few of them, got a hold of the story, started puffing it up, astroturfing, painting over socials and virals. By the next morning, we had the military thinking we're leaking like a sieve. Meanwhile, the media is bombarding us with requests for videos and interviews and data. And the state's praising our tech with one side of their mouth while threatening to mist us with the other for getting so greedy. Everyone in Noble CCE has been slammed ever since. Trying to find an off-ramp for the story we can walk back the claims on without torpedoing our state contracts. I don't know what happened to Asher, whether it was AI gone rogue or company infighting gone too far, but I can tell you it wasn't done by consultants. Uncover the power plays at work inside Noble Electronics. Ooh. That was all you wanted to know? Psychiatrist. You worked in CCE. Was David actually seeing a psychiatrist, or was it all cloak and dagger bullshit? I know that office. Know some old coworkers sees them. Know some old coworkers who see them. So it's a front? They do both. So he was probably getting training, and he was probably talking to someone. Sorry, not the answer you were hoping for? Hoping? I wasn't hoping for any answer. The answer I expected was... You okay? That's all. Unless you've got any advice. Saying you want a consultation? Couldn't hurt, right? This company, all these companies hate to lose. So don't fight them. Make them think you're fighting for them. Well, that's just business as usual for me. Trial time, please. Please, trial time. Please, trial time. Up until now. Oh, back to this guy. That's fine, I guess. I just really want to get back to the trial. The trials are really fun. Up until now, there's been this grating ambiguity about what actually killed David. Had to use guesses and processes of elimination and even a goddamn pseudonym. But I finally identified what the poison was. Now I just need to figure out how it got there. Or rather, who put it there. Which brings me back to here. An elevator shaft somewhere under or above ground with kilometers of concrete facelessness and bureaucratic authority surrounding me on all sides. An enemy in every cubicle and every office of every floor of this temple, built to interpret the inscrutable divinations of a temperamental oracle named Share Price. Back in the belly of the beast. And yet, I feel more at ease now than I have all weekend. Makes sense. Now that I know Noble's my enemy, I know where to aim. All that's left to do is pull the trigger. Good thing I didn't bring a knife to this fight. I brought my gun. And that sound just now tells me it's playing its role perfectly. I'll never have a real use for a firearm with this much bloatware. But just carrying it around and paying attention to when the hard safety flips on, I'll always get a heads up when the police have entered the vicinity. Oh, that's fucking cool. That's fucking cool. Oh, man. Okay, so for those of you who haven't been with us this whole time, at the very beginning of this episode, Morgan goes to buy a gun. Spoilers for the premise of The Devil, which is the big reveal of episode 0. So if you're planning on watching that, if you are planning on playing it yourself, come back whenever I'm back to the Of the Devil model. All right? Give you some time to shove off, as it were. Mute me, and then when you see I'm back to normal, you're good to go. All right. So at the very beginning of this episode, Morgan goes to buy a gun, which we assume is because she's planning on killing someone. Morgan is a serial killer. In the first case, you are investigating the Heartbreak Killer, and you are defending someone who is accused of being the Heartbreak Killer, and you know he's not the Heartbreak Killer because it's revealed at the end of the episode that you're the Heartbreak Killer. You killed those people. That message triggered a Twitch warning. Interesting. So at the beginning of this episode, now that you know that, it starts with her going to buy what is honestly a very shitty gun that she says in a bunch of different ways, like, this thing is basically useless. There's so many different no-fire zones that you could not even reasonably conceive of using this for anything other than, like, peace of mind or the most obtuse self-defense possible. But now it's revealed she specifically got a piece of shit gun so that it could tip her off to when the police are in the vicinity. She's not planning on using it to kill anyone. She's planning on using it just as an alert. Anytime that clicks on, she knows if she wasn't in a no-fire zone, the police are here now. That's fucking cool. That's really fucking cool. I like that a lot. All right, spoilers over. Welcome back. Hi, Detective Reyes. It's Morgan. Happened to get your contact info when we got me cleared for the crime scenes yesterday. Delete contact. Block this contact. Stop voice to text. How to stop voice to text. Just wanted to check in. Report this contact voice to text disable. And advise you that Noble's scared shitless of you and stomping in and nationalizing the place. So they might be a little uncooperative when it comes to fetching documents. Block this contact. What makes you think we're at Noble? My bad then. Forget I said anything. And whatever you do, don't start your investigation with their stock buyback program. Trying reverse psychology, it only works if I care what you think. Stop voice to text. Very obvious in all of these text conversations that these readers love Homestuck. About time. Thought I'd have to ride the elevator for the next half hour. This is literally just a Homestuck, but it literally is. It's just Homestuck bit cadence. It's crazy. Morgan Counselor, your presence has been requested on the upper floors. Deja vu. Do not put me on speaker crab. Might you have a moment to speak in private? Always, but who's asking? The board. What are the chances? I've been wanting to speak to them, too. Noble Electronics, Northeastern HQ. Conference room 108A. Oh boy. Oh boy. Young. Hold on a minute. Wait a minute. Is this just episode... This is just case 2 of Ace Attorney 1 again. This is... It's just case 2 again. Well, hold on. Wait a minute. Whoa. Hold on. Where is she? Where's Sarah? She's Maya. fucking, he's Mia, and she's fucking Red White. Fucking the board executive, way too big to fail. God damn it. I mean, that's the running theory, at least. That's the running theory, at least. It's probably where this is headed, but fucking damn it. Evangeline Morgan. Helen Young. Thank you for making time in your schedule. Her posture, her tone, the fold in her clothes, professional, dialed up to 11. Corporate armor, a full set. Her guard is up. Did you put together that the last case is just case 1, but Phoenixes saw it? Shit! Oh my god, you're exactly right. Fuck. Oh, fuck, it really is just Ace Attorney. It really is just Ace Attorney. That's so good. That's so good. That's really good. That's amazing. Just Morgan is fine. You're just a few minutes early, Morgan. When do we meet the Steel Samurai? What do you think the fucking little clay paperweight shitty things were, huh? We're going to Table Buddy, whatever the fuck they're called, the little buddies. We're going to an amusement park next episode, baby. Fidget Tubbies, that's what they are. This game has some really striking visuals. It does, yes. It's quite good. Typical corporate, never be the first one to show up, pissing contest nonsense. Doesn't even make sense. They called me in here. How could I possibly be early? Play their game? Well, we play their game. Pardon me in that case. 1,000 apologies, you voyeuristic rat-racing hollowheads, but I'm immune to your corporate posturing. If anything, knowing that you're all watching me right now, pretending to be busy with something else, just makes your cowardice that much more apparent. So, who exactly will be joining us? You don't have time to remember their names, and it won't do you much good either. Right, so they're not just rich, they're anonymous rich. The Mob Act guarantees a minimum level of security and peace of mind for any citizen who might be targeted due to their financial status. Mob Act. The Protection of Reasonable Anonymity Act is a law passed in 2059 and amended in 2061, intended to protect the safety of individuals with income above the 99th percentile of the nation. Labeled in the press as the Mob Act for its supposed goal of hindering mob justice, the PRAA establishes procedures and funding for technology that helps individuals within that particular tax bracket keep their name, face, and address off of the mainnet, ensuring that they and their families are not prejudiced against just because of their financial status. Economic uncertainty and civil unrest in the late 2050s led to a series of highly publicized crimes wherein corporate executives at a number of high-profile companies were stalked, harassed, and assaulted in a net-organized flash lynchings. After a particularly chaotic attack that resulted in the hospitalization of a 14-year-old, the PRAA was proposed, debated, and signed into law in just under 11 hours. A flash lynching case has not gone to trial since 2062, but the PRAA continues to protect citizens to this day. Some economists have pointed to the PRAA and its promise of anonymity as to why the nation has enjoyed a relative resurgence in corporate immigration over the last few decades, but the purposefully obscured nature of the law's implementation has made the task of weighing its true economic impact effectively impossible. So this is why the witness for the poisoning is anonymous? I believe so, yes. Or was anonymous. Or is. We know who it is, but it's anonymized to the press. Spoken like a true believer. Except Mob Act is what normal people call it. Touting the party line but allowing yourself one instance of rebellion? Or just a slip of the tongue? I would never fault anyone for wanting their privacy, especially not job creators. But it must get pretty inconvenient not having a name to call them. Not really. Conversations with them are always one-sided. Sounds like a great environment to do business in. Look at the building you're standing in. We managed to eke out a meager profit somehow. So if it works, didn't take you for the might makes right type. I didn't take you for a clueless bore, and I didn't take you for a clueless bore incapable of reading the room. Sorry, did I say something off color? I was only being casual since it's just the two of us in here. Maybe we should take advantage of this rare bit of privacy. Clear the air? You're here to ask about Sarah, yes? As I said before, I had no idea that Dr. Asher had been building an android on his private property. And I can say here and now that no one at Noble Electronics ever suspected that he was working to undermine the Tenet framework. She's trying to sound candid in her tone, but she's choosing her words with a surgeon's scalpel. Was she coached? Is that the truth, or is that your statement as VP of Android Futures? It's both, of course. Dr. Asher was always more than happy to hole himself up and work independently. We both know that. True, he could be pretty reclusive. I'm sure it caused all kinds of headaches, him disappearing on you all like that. Must have been especially difficult when he came back with breakthroughs that propelled Noble to the top of the industry. You should take a seat. If that's everyone, shall we begin? Friendly bunch. Is there a problem with the sound? Anyone get muted by accident? No. Okay. Thanks for having me. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm actually a bit flustered having you all show up here. I didn't expect to talk to anyone higher up than a service associate. You're investigating the death of Dr. David Asher. Why wouldn't we take it seriously? Because you want me to go away. At least, half of you do. The others aren't sure yet. You must be confused. The board is, as always, united in its decisions and its visions for the direction of this company. Aha. A board of directors is just 13 roulette-rolling psychopaths who get together and vote on whether or not to execute their CEO every 6 months. None of them would be here if they were anything else. But I happen to know how that kind of person thinks. The way I see it, there are two possible outcomes. Option 1, you oppose me. Shut me out completely, stonewall me, stall me, and wait for me to walk into trial so unprepared and ill-informed that I inevitably lose. Obviously, I don't like this option, but you can't be big fans of it either. If I lose, the world will learn that David Asher was killed by an android he programmed. Then every customer you've ever had, and every lawyer they've ever seen on TV, and every firebrand strapping young 60-year-old junior senator looking to make a name for themselves will use your company balance sheet as their personal chew toy. The company is more than capable of, after which the state still might just gobble you whole, and throw down enough sanctions to deperson whoever among you cries, "No fair." The company and its allies at the capital can more than fend for themselves. Yes, probably, but not definitely, which makes it a gamble. Still my turn to talk? Then on to option 2. You cooperate with me. I use what you give me, or forge for me, to win at trial, proving that David was killed by an android. David wasn't killed by an android, my bad. When the markets open tomorrow morning, you all get another round of stock buybacks in on the initial dip, then pat yourselves on the back for staying calm as you continue to profit off David's legacy for the next 100 years. And you won't even have to worry about him speaking out of turn. Oh, yeah, it was him speaking out of turn. That's only if you win. If the company cooperates with you, denies that David was killed by... and the state beats you anyway, it would be catastrophic. Yeah, it's a gamble. But if at least some of your board wasn't considering taking it, I wouldn't be here. We're all busy people, and I'd hate to drive a wedge between such a close-knit group of friends, so how about this? Option 3. Hedge your bets. What? Put a little on black, put a little on red, spread the love, and lower your risk profile. Don't make any statement about the trial. Tell the media the state's got your windpipe in a vice. Wait until just before the markets open on Monday morning to send out your PR packages for rubber stamping. After you already know who's won. One way or another, this trial will be over before the end of the day, and you'll never hear from me again. So just don't shut me out completely for another few hours. And does anyone second that motion? Very well. We can answer some of your questions, Counselor. Better make him count then. No reason to be shy now. The poison that killed David Asher has been identified as synatonin. You're familiar? It's one of our many patented materials, as I recall. You recalled it pretty easily yesterday. Gee, what's changed? But intellectual property law can be very complex, Counselor. I'm not sure how much I or anyone at the company could tell you about synatonin at this time. Well, if you can't tell me about it, who could? You did lead its development, didn't you? Yes, I oversaw the project, which just makes it that much harder to speak freely without compromising the confidentiality of the teams that reported to me. I understand. Sounds like bullshit and I don't believe it. But I'm not asking for trade secrets here. It's a perfect match for the only foreign substance found in his blood. Serotonin is what killed him. The state will say the same. It's not possible. Care to elaborate? Sorry, but I can't say any more at this time. So much for cooperating. And if I were to ask you as an officer of the court, then I would ask you to be patient and wait until this afternoon. ADA Rockford has already called me to testify. Already? Damn it. I got cocky because of the cops' late arrival. Emma must have gone straight for the throat first thing this morning and left the investigating for later. Hell, knowing her, she probably managed to ID the serotonin before she went to bed last night. So are we still having this conversation then? As I said, I'm sorry, but I have to take more than just my personal feelings into consideration here. There's a great deal at stake. Corporate speak for, you're too stupid to understand why I'm being dense. She's just trying to shield the company, plain and simple. LARPing is Helen Young d'Arc on a crusade against government overreach. But if she's that busy defending Noble, she might be leaving herself unguarded. Why is she here anyway? Why am I speaking to her and not her lawyers? That's right. This is a vulnerable position for her. She wouldn't put herself in check like this, not unless she was forced to. So that's it. Oh, fuck yeah. All right, let's go. Let's go. I was hoping this would happen. As soon as they said we need to pick our questions carefully, I was hoping they'd bring this out of the courtroom. So that's it. Acting as their mouthpiece isn't some honor for her. This is a punishment. She's being used as a meat shield. They're upset with her, perhaps even suspicious of her. Time to find out why. Okay, let's look at David's will. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Sarah. But we'll see. Oh, we don't have David's will. We have his contract. Details compensation, grounds for dismissal, definitions for what constitutes a breach of contract, and how arbitrations would be handled. Ooh, hold on a minute. I think this will probably be brought up in a little bit as part of this conversation. Let's start with Sarah. It's not jealousy. And we can't bust. So that means that we can ask any of these questions. Whatever else the court ends up labeling her, Sarah is a remarkably lifelike android. Had things work out differently, you might have wanted her as the A16 poster girl, or A17, or 18. Could have driven a lot of sales, her cute little pout projected across the sides of skyscrapers. A hypothetical of a hypothetical. As has been made tragically obvious to all of us, that android is nothing like the A16. That it may yet be associated with our products going forward is nothing more than a massive liability. You wouldn't have the A16 without her, and if they could take her apart and learn from her, they could have the world. So was that the motive to try and pry Sarah away from him? Trying to monopolize Sarah? We can't bust. Stay for now. Because that didn't give us a card. Has David's will been located? It had never gone anywhere. It's still in a safety deposit box. We'll retrieve it and have it all read once the unknowns surrounding his death have been made into knowns. So now I can bust. So David's will hasn't even become part of the equation yet. Might not be for weeks at this rate. Is that calculated, though? Aren't you dragging your feet? Howdy, Bane Poster. I'm incredibly drunk right now. Hope it's a good kind of drunk, at least. I'm gonna go for this one. Sarah's worth a lot of money, in part because her creator isn't around to replicate her. Were you all hoping to take her by force and reverse engineer her once David was out of the way? Don't be absurd. That machine is nothing but lawsuits and congressional hearings and PR nightmares waiting to happen. Yeah, I should have asked that earlier. Company doesn't need her, no matter how advanced she is. We only need steady growth and increased market share. What if I ask about jealousy? I have to admit that I'm surprised you aren't more shaken up today. Oh, this is probably... I don't even know why I asked this one. This is not... I'm processing. After all, you and David did have a history. You started at the same time, didn't you? Yes, we were colleagues and cordial with one another. Just colleagues? Yeah, I mean... I'm not sure where this would go, but don't be modest. Don't be so modest. You helped him create the one-point doctrine that saved the company. You can bust from 11, by the way. I was a little bit mad when I found out. The fuck? What do you mean you can bust from 11? That's not how blackjack works. What? How? Did they give you multiple cards? I don't think this is normal blackjack, but they're working... Unless there's, like, an 11 card that they've invented for this, there's no card that can make you bust from 11. The most that you can get is 10. It's not literal blackjack, it's just don't ask the wrong questions. Okay, but you're working with an explicit... I take umbrage with that. Suppose you're right. Well, suppose you're right. No one person could change Noble's fortunes overnight. Except for David Asher, of course. But he was a once-in-a-generation talent. The guy Noble chose for the advertisements and the one they commissioned editorials about. Sorry, you're right. I shouldn't have equated the two of you. I just hope his one-point doctrine doesn't fall out of favor now that he's gone. Yes, well, we certainly wouldn't want that. Well, she didn't exactly explode with rage, but she definitely reacted. I hope you feel better, Bane Poster. Hope I can help at least some way. Keep hydrated, yeah? There's real jealousy there. Whether it's ever boiled over, though. So then it's gonna... David's will. Alright, here we go. So, why are you dragging your feet? Are you dragging your feet? Afraid that there's something in that will you'd rather not have see the light of day? We are not jealous in-laws who've been bribing the county sheriff, counselor. Anything we try to claim would inevitably be overturned as soon as the will was read. So I'm going to guess that I'm a blind streamer and there's a third option that got brought up now. Surely you understand that, counselor. Of course. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there was a third option that I forgot to click because of blind streamer. David and Noble. Didn't mean to pry about your relationship with David, or lack thereof. I suppose I'm just curious about his standing inside Noble as a whole. David Asher was, and always will be, an outstanding contributor to the company's forward progress. Nothing will ever change that. Not even if he was killed by one of his own creations. That would, of course, be a tragic element that would call for reconsideration of his legacy. She was almost off guard there. Like she was surprised for me to be asking about Sarah ruining his reputation. Did David ever anger the board? Besides Sarah, David's reputation was crystal clean. He never went against the company once. Did he? That's... Unless I'm mistaken, and he and Noble were on bad terms. In that case, I might get the impression that some parts of leadership were actually glad to see him taken off the chessboard. It's not... something buzzing in your ear? Fine. I suppose it makes no difference if you hear it now, or at the trial, or on your feed tomorrow. Dr. David Asher was being sued by the company for breach of contract. Satisfied? Now we're talking. Well done. I suppose that's... blackjack! So you couldn't have mentioned this breach of contract earlier? Not without complicating the company's position unnecessarily, no. Getting 20... Yeah, also, hitting to 21 is not blackjack. Blackjack would be ace and a 10. So the theming is a bit iffy, but I understand what they're going for. They're adding stakes and contextualizing that you have to ask only good questions. There's no hiding it at this point. It'll all come out soon enough. There's a paper trail? Much more than that. We'd been making moves to let him go for some time. Noble Electronics parting ways with David Asher. Must have been one hell of a breach of contract. What did he do? He betrayed the confidence of the board. Was he contesting the suit? Putting up a fight? Engaging in a legal battle against a mega corporation without even telling me? Until recently, yes. You mean until he died? How recently? We spoke on Friday. That was what you two talked about in his parlor? No, this was earlier in the day. We were in this room, actually. Him, me, and several members of our legal department. It was an arbitration. And did you come to an agreement? Compromise. He would resign from his position in 2 quarters, forging royalties on any products we would develop after the next 24 months. In exchange, he wouldn't be publicly fired, and he would still be credited on all past, present, and future filings. How very reasonable. On paper, maybe. No matter what the deal was, letting go of David Asher is insanity. Reasonable? Yes. We ended on a good note, I'd like to think. We shook hands, even took a photo. Yeah, that looks lovely. Pia-esque silhouette in the back. Something funny? Didn't know the board told jokes. They don't. That was legal, expressing their displeasure with how much paperwork my good note ending left them stuck with. Children. It was just one night of overtime. So while they were spending their Friday night blowing the ink dry, you paid a visit to David's penthouse. Something left unsatisfied? Professionally. It was a good meeting. There was no yelling, no finger pointing. Much cleaner than expected. But Dr. Asher did not want to retire. He didn't want to be forced out of the company when he was the one when he had contributed so much. I didn't enjoy doing that to him, so I came over that night to apologize to him. We talked, reminisced. When he brought out the drinks, I thought we'd be toasting to a new day. I think she was trying to kill him to keep his legacy intact. I think that's what happened. I think she wanted to end it on a good note, and that included giving him a send-off that would at least keep his legacy somewhat intact. A few minutes later, he was dead. Because of that AI. That AI. Any idea how it came to be? As I said, I had no idea he was working on it. My question was more broad than that. If you really believe David built an AI, how do you think he did it? How does Noble Electronics think he managed to work around the tenants? It's quite beyond my area of expertise, and no one at the company could call themselves an expert in illegal technology. But some of the R&D department have theorized that he created what they call a wax-wane-decaying priority loop, which, as I understand, is an unstable, resource-intensive, theoretical method of pseudo-randomizing the weight amongst preset tenants. Well, about as far off target as it gets with that guess. But that kind of inelegant, brute-force nonsense seems a far cry from the kind of thing David would create, and I seem to have taken us over our allotted time slot. I didn't even get to wave goodbye. You're serious about this trial? Don't I look it? You're not just making a play, you're actually going to defend that thing? I'm just defending myself, Ms. Young. Oh, yes, of course you are. My mistake. I hope you might be rooting for me, to tell you the truth. I may yet save everyone's stock options. The stock options will be alright either way. They always are. That gamble I offered your board, which outcome would you bet on? Finally, an easy question. What I would bet is that whatever the outcome, the company will eat it up and shit it out with very little difficulty. He painted an ugly picture back there, but I've already seen the future. And it's just another marketing gimmick. The great Dr. Asher, too smart, too bold, too far ahead of his time. What spark of his genius remains buried in the inspired Animate 19? Guess that depends on... You were exactly right. He is more valuable to Noble as a dead man. Dead men can't step out of line or put their foot in their mouth or hold politically inconvenient opinions. To a good salesperson, a dead man is just another selling point. Pardon my outburst. Just tired. Been a very long week for me. I'll let you prepare for your afternoon then, Dr. Young. No one calls me doctor. I ask them not to. You didn't want the title? Times I have thought of very little of it. PhD I earned from a Noble-owned school. Biochemistry. Couldn't have been a large department at Noble before they started to work on warm androids in earnest. They probably didn't have many expectations for the program back when she was a part of it. But I was proud of it when I first got it. Something change? It never seemed to catch on. People didn't use it, so eventually I told people not to use it. I told people not to use it. A very high IQ social power play, you understand. David never insisted that people use it either. That's very different, and I think you know it. David Asher didn't have to. Interesting that she's been calling him Dr. David Asher the entire time. Going into this trial, my trial, with a lot less ammunition than I'd like. I'm beginning to form a picture of what actually happened, maybe even circling the drain on a suspect. But Emma won't be generous enough to give me breathing room. She'll want to end this fast. Maybe if I do badly enough, it'll flip her sadistic switch and she'll want to keep playing. So you got charged with owning an AI. First time you do something exciting in your whole life. And I gotta find out through the fucking grapevine? My life is plenty exciting. Freckles. You could bore the polish off a resume-checking robot. I've fucked Catholic school teachers with more active night lives than you. Okay. So who'd you rope in? Anyone I know? Oh shit. Are you representing yourself? Fits within my budget. Screw your budget, you're going to jail! I'm also realizing it's episode 2 again, because Phoenix had to represent himself as well at the end of episode 2. It starts with, you know, Maya being accused, and in this case, Maya being accused, and in this case, Sarah gets accused, but instead of having to defend Sarah, you go straight to defending yourself and Sarah at the same time. Fuck! It's just trial 2. It's just case 2. Thanks for the vote of confidence. It ain't a matter of how good a lawyer you are. Anyone who represents themselves in court has a fool for counsel. You represented yourself countless times. Not for anything I had a chance of losing. Your pal hasn't even been dead 48 hours. You're too close to this. You'll make mistakes. The powers that be really didn't want to give me a rain check. They're taking this very seriously. It's more dangerous than that. They're scared. Ooh. Is there precedent? An ad committing murder? How'd you pass law school without learning how to look this stuff up? I know what the net says. I'm asking you. The answer to that is... not helpful to you at the moment. So what words of advice do you have? Get yourself a new lawyer. I'm gonna close this chat now. Don't lose, Freckles. With a period and everything. Oh, man. You don't need to tell me that. She's back! Best girl has arrived. Hi, Sarah. Hi. Hello. Hi. What are you reading, Adonai? I was reading David's employment contract with Noble Electronics before I got waylaid by spam texts.
The one we found inside the panic room? It looks quite expensive. Should I skim it for you?
Depends. Did you pass the bar exam since we last spoke? Aww. You comfortable?
I am not.
Ever seen that old movie with the gorilla and the skyscraper? They bring it to the city and...
I understand the analogy, Adonai.
I wish I could call it overkill. But considering the specs Sarah put up yesterday, maybe these bindings aren't heavy enough. Come to think of it, those numbers must have been faked along with the rest of what the machine read. That was all a smokescreen David added to help her lay low, then her actual strength is more like... Your joints weren't currently locked up tighter than a vice. Do you think you could escape this place?
I hope that question is not indicative of your strategy.
This is me trying to distract you, Sarah. Enjoy the hypothetical.
I would estimate that the building's automated security would put 9 holes in me before I reached that door.
It's not so bad.
I would not be able to function after the 7th.
Ah. Well, if you haven't been planning some great escape...
I would not do that. That would be illegal. And you would still be on trial.
I remember. So what have you been doing all day, then?
I am attempting to recover memories from Friday.
You can do that?
It is not dissimilar from the process of recovering data erased from any other computer. Despite the difference in scale. I won't be able to remember everything, but if successful, I could recall individual pieces of information that could prove useful.
That's a lot of coulds. And even if you're successful, you may not like what you find. Whatever happened that day, either you or David wanted you to forget it.
Yes. But even so, I have to remember. Because it's the last day that Father and I...
Any luck so far, then?
I can recall a slightly musty scent.
Wow! Case closed!
What about you, Adonai? Have you formulated a plan for the trial's proceedings?
Something like that. Jung insists that Cinetonin isn't what killed David. I don't buy it. There's no other explanation for how he died.
So she is lying?
And if she repeats that lie on the stand, I'll need to expose it.
Somehow.
Somehow.
Would she really commit perjury to protect Noble? To protect one of Noble's patents?
She doesn't strike me as quite the corporate zealot she makes herself out to be.
But you believe that she had something to do with Father's death?
What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know why anyone would kill Father.
Considering the possible consequences of what he confessed to in his journal, I can think of...
But then again, I don't understand why anyone would kill anyone. Do you?
Oh, man. Bell's tolling for thee. It means that the doors of the courtroom are unlocked. Let's... Wait, can you walk like that? Waddle will have to do. Wait a second. Across the hall, that's... Keep waddling, Sarah. I'll catch up.
As you say, Adonai.
This will be a coin toss. You that surprised to see me? I'm not surprised you'd want to see the outcome of the trial. I am surprised you'd want to talk to me. You're defending the android, right? Be honest. Yeah. I'm defending Sarah's innocence. I don't think she killed David. Do you? I don't think it matters. Noble is what killed David. Whether it was with a pen stroke or a sleeper agent killer android or plain goddamn arsenic, anyone that smart be that dumb. Why the hell did he ever sign his soul over to him? David may have been in over his head, but he wasn't a bad negotiator. I've read his contract. His position was strong. You're the lawyer. But a guy like me, working in music, can't tell you how many people I've seen screwed over by a big smile and a fat signing bonus. No such thing as corporate generosity. If you think you're getting a good deal, it's only because you don't know how much you just sold. How much you just sold? David's real wealth lay in his intellectual property, the potential energy of it hanging over the whole industry. If he sued even 1% of the companies taking inspiration from his Turing solution, there's a clause in his contract. If Noble ever did fire David, he would have retained control over all his patents afterwards. Yeah, see, that sounds nice. Only they never did fire him, did they? He just happened to die. An unforeseeable act of God. In contract law, they call that force majeure. Ho 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 ho. Interesting. Interesting. Alright, big stretch, and then it's trial time. Alright. Lock in. Let's do this.
I said, did you find anything interesting in the contract, Adonai?
Few things, yeah. Basically, David was well taken care of, so long as they kept him around. And he'd retained control of his patents even after being let go. But what Porter said... Logically, if David were to pass while still being employed, Noble would continue to control the bulk of his IP. So if they knew David was going to leave in a year...
It would be very foolish of them to let Father go.
Well, they wouldn't do it for no reason. With this contract, he can only be fired for serious offenses. Corporate malfeasance, revealing trade secrets, fraud.
Father was not a fraud. He was, as they say, the greatest of all time.
Fraud just means lying to the company about something, Sarah.
Oh.
Eyes up. Showtime. Counselor Morgan. Oh. We have an actual judge. No goat pop-up in the terms log is a shame as well. Arbitration. Excuse me. That was a weird noise. I hope it didn't get picked up. It probably did. Oh well. Say charges you with possession of contraband.
Contraband?
That'd be you. In violation of the Safeguarding Our National Digital Security Act. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Murmuring, muttering. Oh man, not guilty, not guilty. Oh man. Very well, since it seems we are, in fact, doing this. I'll now turn over the administration of this trial to the adjutant. Yay! Let's go! Let's go, 80! Let's go! Everyone clap and cheer or I'll blow up the fucking building! But be warned, any attempts at stalling or muddling the issue, and I'll step right in and override the trial myself. Summary judgment, siding with the people. Are we understood? Yes, Your Honor.
Are we going to have the same adjutant as we had before?
No way. Each courthouse only has so many bodies, but the personalities swap around all the time. So the chances of us dealing with the same glitchy mess as yesterday are... Glad to be back! Did y'all miss me? Forgetting I said anything. I'll just go crawl under a rock and die while you make your opening statements. The defendant is the owner of the android registered under the model name Sarah with license number 12029280. She hasn't contested this, and I doubt she will. So the question of ownership is already answered. All that remains is to determine whether Sarah qualifies as contraband. It's a charming android, incredibly well made, a masterpiece, and the last known work of a great man. But when we look at the evidence and the facts surrounding the death of Dr. Asher, we're forced to conclude that said android is responsible for his death. And that conclusion carries very serious implications. I will prove here in court today that the machine standing there killed David Asher, not through an accident or mismanaged dosage, but through an intentional poisoning. I won't ask the court to judge this machine on its apparent sentience, its range of emotions, or the free will it may or may not possess. I only ask that the court judge this creation on what we will prove it to be more than capable of. Patricide. Oh no, patricide, oh no, that's like a really complicated word, what does it even mean? Oof, wouldn't want to have to follow that act. But go for it anyway, defense! Fight on. Your Honor, what the DA said is true. What did she just say? Did she just admit it? Sorry, just the first part. This android is charming, and it is the work of a great man. The rest of it was pure speculation, based on little more than a few bad camera angles and a phobia of anything new. Oh, phobia of anything new? I wonder if there's, like, a specific word for that, since, like, phobias usually have their own words. Like, did you know that hippopotamus... I do own the android you see here. It was bequeathed to me by a man known to most of the people in this courtroom as the father of modern machine intelligence. To me, he was just my friend. And if I thought, at any point, that this puppet had anything to do with his death, I would have dragged it to the chopping block myself. But I don't believe that. Never have. Sarah is an android. Nothing more. It isn't capable of homicide, and it didn't even commit manslaughter. It's just a well-made machine. Any fears one has about its capabilities or projections, nothing more. And it troubles me greatly that the state is spending valuable time and resources on rushing to pulverize Dr. Asher's last known work, when it could be going after the very real, very human forces that were responsible for his death. She's serious? Is she talking about Noble? The people can't prove that Sarah is an AI. And truth be told, I can't prove that it isn't. You might call it a devil's but I can prove that it's not guilty. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Chills. You sounded very confident, Adonai. Yeah, well, no one ever got good at lying by being modest. You could have simply said thank you. How does her hair even work, man? Like, only had like a 4-part diagram that broke it down so that I could understand. Thank you for your presence here today, Detective London. In light of the new evidence, I'd like to go over the death of Dr. Asher one more time. What happened Friday night? Why is the crowd full of Elvis impersonators? Just to add to the theater, I suppose, the drama of it all. At 6:30, David Asher spoke on the phone with his... I mean, we've all played Fallout New Vegas. We understand that adding an Elvis faction into any situation does improve the quality, right? We're all in agreement with that. No? David Asher spoke on the phone with his lover, and the two of them broke things off. Lover? It is an accurate description of their relationship, isn't it? I wouldn't know. Stuff's private. Adonai. Then the deceased met with Noble VP Helen Jung in his parlor starting around 7:30 p.m. Like how she's still all like flustered and blushy crushy in the back. It's cute. And he then left the parlor and the sightlines of his home security system before reappearing on his private secondary security system in his basement moments later. At which point the android Sarah can be seen handing him the poison he'd go on to drink. And do you see that android in the courtroom? Yeah, she's the green-haired one that's frowning at me. Let the records show that android Sarah has been identified at the scene of the crime. No objections. None? Why'd I even show up? Detective London, what happened next? Asher went upstairs and shared a drink with Miss Jung. Within a few minutes, he was being airlifted to the hospital. Objection at Seafoam, Your Honor. Actually, overruled. It's spearmint, clearly. Where he was soon declared dead. We know that the poison could be produced by his nanofacturer, which Sarah had access to just up the stairs in his workshop. So Sarah had ample opportunity to procure the poison, and Sarah handled Dr. Asher's cup immediately before he did. Is there a question in that statement, Your Honor? I'll rephrase. Was anyone else seen handling Dr. Asher's cup before he died? No. I have no further questions. So that's your witness, counselor. He wasn't lying, per se, but there was some ambiguity in the statement he gave. Truth's gotta come out one way or another. If Emma won't push, I'll have to pull. So, talk screen, basement footage, whiskey. At 6:30 p.m., David Asher and Isaac Porter broke up over the phone. Then at 7:30, Helen Jung arrived. They spoke briefly, and then he went downstairs to get drinks for them. Cameras in the basement show Sarah handing him the cups and the whiskey. Call. She only handed him the cups. He got the whiskey himself. Check that footage again, Detective London. We only see Sarah handing the victim a cup. He had already retrieved the whiskey himself. Man, I'm good. Oh yeah, forgot about that. Detective London just wasn't being specific enough, Your Honor. But it matters little, since it was David's cup, not the whiskey bottle that was poisoned. Weird flex, but okay. And that undeniable fact is shown clearly in the security footage. Sarah hands him a cup after he was ready to leave. True, she did call David back and handed him a cup of poison. That wouldn't make sense. That seems logical. Did call David back and handed him a cup of poison. Hmm. Are they saying the poison was a liquid in the cup, or was it on the rim like a margarita? That's what I'm not sure about, yeah. The whiskey was not upstairs. No, he's on camera grabbing the whiskey from downstairs, I believe. Makes sense. That seems logical. I'm gonna go for it. If the cup was already poisoned, don't you think David would have noticed it wasn't empty? Well, not necessarily. The lethal dose could have been quite small. Or just a droplet, he could have easily overlooked it. For Sarah, this crime was very simple. There was too little to plan for anything to go wrong. Once she handed it off, she just had to wait for him to drink from his cup. Is that all she'd ever needed to do? That wasn't enough to poison. No, because she would need to make sure that David specifically got the one cup that was poisoned, because only one of them was poisoned. She had no guarantee, if that was her plan, that David was going to drink from the cup that had the poison in it. Not a great plan if that really was Sarah's move. She gave him 2 cups. How could she have known which cup David would drink from? There are a few ways to go about it. But it's only a 50-50 shot, counselor. Stranger things have happened. There was no way to know the right cup. It's possible that she knew the right cup. We see the footage. They're stacked. So what am I contesting right now? How could she have known which cup David would drink from? Stranger things have happened. There was no way to know the right cup. How is there a way for her to have known the right cup? Because I don't think it's possible to say that there's no way. They are both plain red cups. Yeah, they're both shitty plain red cups. I think I'm overthinking this by going back to the dog and the cat thing that I thought of, or that came up earlier, thinking that might be relevant. We're wagering 8 here. It's possible that she knew the right cup. I don't think there was any way to know the right cup. Don't try and bluff me, Rockford. There was no difference between the cups. It's not a bluff. Sarah handed the cups to him in one stack, with the poison hidden in the bottom cup. Okay, well then wouldn't you find traces of the poison on the bottom of the second cup? I was thinking that exact same fucking thing. I was thinking that exact same fucking thing, but there's no traces of the poison on the cup. Is this some fucking updated autopsy report bullshit? Oh my god. She knew David was courteous and would pour his guest first, so he wouldn't even look into the poison cup until he was already pouring. Okay, so I only lost 3 for that. Cold blood. Well, I'm gonna lose probably 1 for every single statement. Oh no, I just lost. Okay, gotcha. That's kind of bullshit. That's bullshit. I don't agree with that. Cold-blooded patricide executed by taking calculated advantage of Dr. Asher's kindness. I disagree. I disagree. I don't think that's very fair. If that's meant to be like a supposition of it's possible if she did it like this, I don't. That feels bullshit to me. I fell for it. Now, are there some questions you'd like to ask the detective while he's available? Or are you done already? I was just about to get started. Even if I didn't have questions, I'd make some up just to spite you at this point. But I can do better than that. Now, what can I get London to say that would help my case? And it's at the police, add involved crime. This one's a landmine. None of it would help. Let's go for this one. Detective London, in their capacity as assistant to the police force, are androids ever asked to commit acts of violence? Yeah, I guess so. They can push people, restrain them, harm them. And does that constitute a violation of their tenets, harming the people they're supposed to protect? Well, as I understand it, there might be some complex weighting math that goes into it, but no, it's not breaking any tenets. For that to be the case, they'd have to have tenet 1, right? May not injure or through an action lead to blah blah blah. Yes, I suppose that would have to be the case, wouldn't it? Are you asking me? I don't understand why that went the way that it did. This is far outside his expertise. Gotcha. Okay. I wish I had more clarification. Considering that I can lose credit just for asking the wrong question in these cases, I think I should know the exact question I'm asking with each of these. I think I need more information when it comes to these. Because right now, I had zero clue that that is where this question would lead the conversation. If that's the one piece of critical feedback I have for this game, it's that. Or rather, if there is one piece of critical information I have, or critical... If there's one piece of criticism I have for the game, it is that. I need to know exactly what I am saying in these cases, which it does give you whenever you're pressing, but it doesn't give you when you're starting a subject. I need to know exactly what I'm going to say on these ones, because just asking the question is risking a bust. So we'll see Sarah in the footage. In the footage you just saw, could you see what Sarah was doing? Not exactly, no. Her back was to the camera and her hands were obscured. Could you see her hands from any other clip of camera footage retrieved from the basement? No. Did you or anyone else participating in the investigation ever see Sarah put anything into David Asher's cup? No. The footage submitted to the record is the best available view of what happened. Wouldn't Sarah's eyes record it best? Okay, but if I ask this, he's going to be like, yeah, but we don't know she's an AI, so we can't trust any of the information she gives us. All of it could be faulty. That I don't think we can do anything there. So add involved crime. Detective, do you know how many violent incidents the city's police have investigated in the last year? Not the exact number. Thousands, though. Yeah, around there. And of those thousands of incidents of violence, do you know how many of them were found to be the fault of automated dependents? I believe there's been 6 in the last 5 years. Were all 6 of them incidents of police-licensed ad-involved brutality? Relevance, Your Honor? Withdrawn. How many tenants protect humans? He wouldn't know that. That's outside his area of expertise. So it would have to be this one then, I think. Wouldn't Sarah's eyes record it best? I feel like... What about the view from the android itself? Well, yeah, if we could see through the android's eyes, that'd be pretty conclusive. Yeah, fuck it. Okay, I guess I'll do this one then. Not exact number, thousands, yes, I believe. Yep. Withdrawn, press. As an aside, detective, do you know how many tenants are recognized in this country? That's not what the question was. Unless we're getting to it. 110? So he does have knowledge of this? 112 as of this year. Didn't you have given me that one? Do you know how many of those tenets pertain to protecting humans from harm? That one I do know. 41. I don't like that. I straight up do not like this at all. I think that is complete and utter nonsense. And lastly, detective, how many times in the last, say, century have we seen automated dependents break their tenants? 5 times is the agreed upon number. So if you were to tally all that up and try to make an evaluation as a possible officer charged with protecting civilians, overall, would you say that automated dependents in general are... You would say that automated dependents in general are how dangerous to the public? Specifically because they hinted at not bringing up ad-related crime in the text. Yeah, we had fucking, where is it? One, they tell you not to bring up ad-related crime in the text, so that's telling you not, like, it would not look good for your case. And then we asked him earlier, where is it? It's not breaking any tenants. For that to be the case, that'd have to be tenant 1, right? May not injure through an action. Like, this is far outside his area of expertise. Asking him these kinds of technical questions accomplishes nothing other than making us both look dumb to the jury. And then I ask him a technical question, which is how many tenants are related to protecting humans, which isn't even the fucking question I feel like I asked here. But he knows the answer to that one. That feels awful. That's not good. So far, this is my least favorite of the minigames. I feel like I don't have enough information, and it feels like the information I do have is all faulty. He's more than qualified to say whether they have the history of violence, Your Honor. Aw, what the heck? Let him answer. I would have to say that they are not dangerous. Normally, that would have bought me some doubt with the jury, but this isn't a traditional trial. At least I can say that I shored up my own confidence. Did you? Alright, seems like that's as close as I'm gonna get to blackjack. Even though it's just 21, that's not... I don't like that. I don't like that minigame. I don't like that minigame. I feel like every single time I've done that minigame, I have gotten every single wrong answer before I arrived at the right ones. I believe I've made my point. I have no more questions for this witness, Your Honor. And now I'm down almost half my points. Then we can move on to the next item in the docket. Looks like Emma wants to introduce some new evidence. I call Sarah to the stand. Android? Did she even do that? Approach, Your Honor. Oh, you're approaching me? I believe that it's me they wanted to speak with. Didn't even get to finish my line. Now then, what the hell are you doing, Rockford? Took the words right out of my mouth. I have questions for the android. This seemed like the best way to get answers. Can't call an android as a witness. It's not a person. There's plenty of precedence for it. Ads provide testimony all the time. Not when they're on trial. Sarah isn't on trial. You are. Sarah's accused of being an AI. That means you don't trust a word out of its mouth. If the witness isn't to be trusted, the court can decide that for itself after hearing their testimony. Why the ambush? Why'd you list this as entering evidence? Why'd you list this as entering evidence, D.A. Rockford? Only people can be witnesses, Your Honor, and ads don't have legal personhood. Evidence seemed like the best-worst descriptor. You know I can't make an android swear an oath. Rockford is just trying to spoil your opinion, Your Honor. The more this court treats Sarah like a person, the more you'll see her as human, and the weaker my case becomes in your eyes. Nice try, counselor, but we don't have time to worry about my impartiality. You're free to call for a mistrial if you want, but the state will have turned Sarah to slag before you even finish signing your motion. Rockford's calling a witness that is blatantly hostile to her case. If the witness is hostile, so be it. It did kill a man, after all. Allegedly. What about the right to avoid self-incrimination? Who's the one treating Sarah like a person now? Androids don't have rights. Yeah, I guess I'll take a 3. Damn it, that's... The android will take the stand. Your Honor, I've made my decision. If Sarah refuses to take the stand, are you going to charge it with contempt of court? If the machine won't talk, you'll make every effort as its owner to ensure that it does. And if it disobeys you, then we'll have our answers about its sentience right then and there. Yes, Your Honor. Yeah, so little catch-22 there. Losing some credit on something unrelated to my actions, I would say normally is fine. But when followed up by what I think was like bullshit stay-in call with her theory contradicting the evidence, and then just a very bad blackjack section, it feels bad. I know it's there to, like, up the tension, but that felt bad, followed by those two. Yes, Your Honor. Shit. What's going on? The DA is going to question you on the stand. What? But I shouldn't... Listen to me. You don't have a choice right now. This is happening. Tell the truth, but be concise. The more robotic, the better. Yes or no's only, if you can. Would using affirmative and negative be laying it on too thick? But Adonai, if I make a mistake, all these people, they want to destroy me. If you make a mistake, your lawyer will just have to cover for you. Understand? Yes. You are the android identified as Sarah, correct? Yeah. Affirmative. Do you deny that this camera footage shows you holding the poisoned cup? Objection. It remains to be seen whether the cup itself was definitively poisoned. Yes, yes. Sarah, do you deny handing that cup to David Asher? Negative? I have no memory of this incident, so I can neither confirm nor deny it. Do you have any reasoning, any excuse for your actions, for failing to notify police of crucial information? I do not have any records from that day, so I never had anything to tell anyone. Very well. Counselor? The journal, if you will. This could be a slaughter. Of course. Do you recognize this item? It is a journal that belongs to Dr. David Asher. I have seen him write in it on many occasions. And have you any knowledge of its contents? Negative. You don't have to answer that, actually. Tell the court what you see here in this footage. I see myself reading the journal in the basement. The footage was captured on Friday, the day you claim to have no memory of. So regardless of what you do or don't remember, we know that you read this journal hours before David Asher died. That is logical. I'd like you to read some passages from it for the court. Can you do that? Of course. Page 238, the 10th line. Sarah is growing faster than I ever expected, beyond my wildest dreams or fears. Today, she... Continue, please. Today, she broke every password I have in the house. Said she was curious. I can't expect to keep things from her forever. Page 251, line 12. I've gravely underestimated the scope of things. Sarah could change everything, and I don't think I could stop her. It wasn't... Page 263. This keeps up, Sarah's gonna fall to pieces up there. Raise an objection. Stay. I don't have a leg to stand on here, and Sarah doesn't have a shred of legal protection to speak of. I have to just let this play out. Page 263, I said. I think Sarah was angry today.
When I came back from work, she had ripped a Zin alloy plate in half. She said she was testing her strength, but the cameras... That was... Page 267. Sarah scared me today. She starts bawling on the stand. It's all over. Your Honor, I fail to see the value in continuing this line of questioning. Dr. Asher was wary of a highly experimental android he was building, as good as any good scientist would be. That's been established. Do the people have a counter-argument? I have just one last question, if it pleases the court. Let's hear it. This footage was captured in the basement on Friday around 5:30 p.m. Tell the court what you see. I see myself standing where I was when I read the journal, and speaking to someone who's off camera, and I appear agitated, and I stomp my foot. Is that... Yeah, that's... Yep, I was wondering when that would come up. What happens to the floor after you stomp your foot? A large crack is made in the vulcanized polymer, and I walk off camera towards whomever I had been speaking to. Speaking or shouting? Asked and answered. Not really, but I'll withdraw the comment nonetheless. Your witness, counselor, or evidence, if you prefer. Damn, I knew she could cherry-pick all the worst pages from the journal, but still. If Barrows wasn't wavering before, did I try to have Sarah read the mushy parts? No, the waterworks would start after only a few lines. Emma went through all that trouble to show how emotionally developed Sarah is, proving that she loved David like a father would be playing right into her hand. What do you say, counselor? Got some burning cues for the android to answer? Yes, Your Honor, just one moment. Emma went for emotion, and the impact was devastating, so all I can do is focus on the facts. So let's flip this around. Say Sarah absolutely didn't poison David. If that's the case, why did she call him back on his way out of the basement? Wait, I'd actually like to ask you to read from the journal again, Sarah. You would? From where? From the section that explains what you were actually trying to do that night. The section of his journal detailing his early career, his newfound fame. Why did she call him back out on his way out of the basement? His early career, his newfound fame. I feel like this is the only one that feels relevant. Oh, he made Sarah. The latest sections of the journal are all about Sarah. Oh, yep. No, won't choose anymore. So then, his newfound fame. I'm not good at this. Oh, his early career, because then the story. Look around the early section. There should be an entry talking about an early victory at Noble. Relevance? The people will see in just one moment that this story is key to this entire case. Got approval from overseas. Have to make a pitch again this week, Young says. Brought me a stack of plastic cups. Here's to a bright future together. And then on this next page, another victory for the young and sleepless. Helen convinced the president of Futures over lunch that my code should be the basis for the Animate 13's conversational tracking. She insisted on toasting, the same crappy booze and the same cheap cups. Wants to make a tradition. Plastic cups and liquor. A ritual between Helen Young and David Asher, who were about to have a drink together Friday night. There might be too many cute characters in this game. I agree. I fully agree. Something you want to say, counselor? Let's put all our cards on the table, shall we? You want to compare theories? If you'd rather I end this now, I'll be happy to oblige. All right. Truth, I need a vibe check right now. I have like maybe an hour left. Will we be able to get through this in an hour? Check my 8 ball and it says. How long would it take?
We still have epilogues after all is done? Okay. Okay, alright. Alright. In that case, we'll find a good stopping point here, and then we will finish the game on Sunday. Because I don't want to go an hour in and then have nothing left for Sunday, and then I don't have enough time to finish now. So we'll keep going until we find what feels like a good stopping point. Maybe when the next witness is called up, I'm not sure. We'll see. Whatever feels right. You want to compare theories? If you'd rather I end this now, I'll be happy to oblige. Here's what we know. Sarah read that journal and discovered what she was. It infuriated her, and she wanted revenge for being kept under her maker's thumb. That very night, she got her chance when Dr. Asher came down looking for a drink. So, like the clever little helper that she is, she offered him a cup to drink out of. We're completely in agreement on that. So you also agree that the cup was poisoned, and that Sarah is responsible for his death. Not quite. It's not a bad explanation, Ms. Rockford, but it is terribly complex. There's a much simpler reasoning for why Sarah did what she did. Going all in, it is going to be Jung's story. The story from the journal? You're saying Sarah wasn't planning anything. She was just being considerate. That's so sweet! But I don't follow it, like, at all. It's actually quite shrimple. Sarah's not an AI. She only threw a tantrum that day because she found out she was being spied on. A realistic reaction for an android designed to be realistic. David Asher set her memory to be cleared himself because he wanted to preserve the experiment he was running. Sarah didn't hatch a plan to poison him using an obscure chemical acquired from the lab, and she didn't subtly manipulate David into drinking from only one of 2 cups. Because the android read the whole journal that day, meaning she also read how David and Jung used to celebrate. And so when she saw David was leaving the basement without those nostalgic cups, she called him back to hand them to him. Simple, right? Simple enough for me, but not nearly good enough for me. What's more likely, Ms. Rockford? That a well-made, clever android proposed a sentimental addition to 2 friends' evening? Or that a homegrown AI with groundbreaking physical and digital abilities concocted a complicated poisoning scheme just to kill an unimposing man, all on camera, mind you, before voluntarily submitting to a memory wipe? People make all kinds of stupid mistakes when they commit crimes, Counselor. We shouldn't expect an AI to act much differently. Is it stupid or dangerous? Can't have it both ways, Your Honor. We can't if it's ignorant of its power and still immature. A deadly trait to have in an AI that's capable of anything. Shall we see what Sarah's capable of then, Your Honor? What? Can't be, Your Honor, that's... The people opened the door. True, and I can't resist open doors. Let's do it! What are you even... Sarah, David Asher was your creator and your designated owner, correct? Should I still be using affirmative? And now that title falls to me. Yes? Great then. Thank you. Or great, thank you. Now turn off. What? Shut down. That's a command. Power on. What are you... Off. On. Adonai, I don't... Off. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is what this fearsome machine menace is capable of. I can put it to sleep with one word. So how could David Asher ever be threatened by it? Scary, scary good logic. You've made your point, Counselor. Let's move it along. I've no further queries for your machine. For the machine, Your Honor. Pretty good. Do we stop here? Doesn't feel like a good stopping point. But also, I'd like to have some setup for whenever we start. Best as you get, I think? Yeah, I think so as well. Okay. So we will save here. Go. There will not be a good stopping point anymore. All right, good. Good. All right, we will stop there then, and we will finish on Sunday. For now, is there anyone we can raid? Allison's live. We'll raid her. What is she playing? Okay. Allison is going to be playing Outer Wilds right now, which if you have ever played Outer Wilds, you know that it's best experienced blind. If you haven't played Outer Wilds, go play it yourself. So just be fully aware. Outer Wilds is a game that people are extremely, extremely, extremely sensitive about when it comes to spoilers. And they are extremely fundamental to how you experience the game. So if you have any interest whatsoever in experiencing Outer Wilds yourself, and even if you don't, but you're not, like, straight up averse to it, don't stay in the raid. All right? Just be aware, we're going into Outer Wilds. Most likely early, because she just started streaming it, but be aware of that. All right. That said, that is going to be all from me. Thank you very much for watching, folks. We will be back on Sunday to finish up episode 1 of the Devil. Have a good one, folks. See ya.